What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to part one of the 2021 Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. The Smarkies are starting off with the AEW End of the Year Awards. We're going to talk about the best and the worst that have happened over 2021 in All Elite Wrestling, from entrances all the way through performers, technical skills. We got writing stuff, we've got storylines, we got gimmicks, so many different categories to break down here. This is our end of the year tradition. This is the second, I think, time that we're doing the AEW stuff, because we couldn't, of course, been doing it for the past 11 years or so. But thankfully, we've got a lot of good things to talk about here. So strap yourselves in for a fun episode. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, you know him and you love him. You got Callum Wiggins.
Yeah, starting off with the good shit.
And Robert D. Felice.
It's all downhill from here, boys.
It very much is in a lot of ways, but we will talk worst on AEW stuff too, because that's what we do here. You know, back 12 years ago at this point, because this is the 12th annual Smark Out Moment Awards. It's just insane. My brain's even melting, even saying that right there. I didn't want to just do only the positives, because everybody does best picture of the year, best whatever, People's Choice Awards are always like the best this, best that. Nah, you got to talk about the worst too. You know, you got to call out the bad things and celebrate the good things. And that's what we do. So we want you to join us in this whole thing by telling us your thoughts on the best and the worst. What are your lists? What are your picks and your choices for these categories? What do you think about our picks and everything? And, you know, you can drop them in the comments below, in particular on YouTube. And while you're over there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done that. Double check that you are subscribed just to be sure, because YouTube glitches out all the time. And if you ring that little notification bell, you'll know when we go live on things, when videos get posted, as well as like the WWE End of the Year Awards, because those are going to be posted not just like all in one shot. There's going to be separate videos. So, you know, get those notification alerts to, you know, hey, part 3's up now, that kind of deal. If you want to help support us and you've been digging what we've been doing this past year, there are multiple ways that you can do that. Patreon is my favorite of the bunch. There is the YouTube join button. That'll get you access to the members only content. It's the exact same thing as the Patreon. So if you like that better, same deal. You get the dark casts, you get the Pick Your Poison tier where you can sponsor episodes and stuff. You've also got the TeePublic and Redbubble shops. They are on sale right now. All these different products, all these different designs, get it at a discount. And there's also just a little tip jar button, the thanks button or applause or whatever it might be. And they changed it a couple different times here and there, so I don't know what it is. But you'll see it on there right around the like button. And, you know, that's a great way to keep the lights on and keep us doing this for the 13th annual End of the Year Awards. But we got a lot to break down, so I'm going to rush through those plugs right there. And we are going to start things off with the Technical Skills Awards. And remember, this is all just AEW, because inevitably every single year we get at least one comment that people are like, but what do you think about this? And it's the opposite. You know, why isn't this match the best match of the year on the AEW things when we're doing the WWE awards and so on and so forth? So remember, it's only AEW for this. We're not also incorporating WWE. We're going to start things off with the entrances, the best and the worst entrance of the year. Now, this could be something that is tied to a specific entrance, like one pay-per-view, or it could just be the general entrance that this person has. Anybody want to start things off, or do you guys want me to start off?
I'll go first. My best entrance is the Elite coming out, doing the Space Jam entrance before the 10-man tag on Dynamite.
That's mine.
Yeah, because, look, if you're going to do Synergy, this is how you do it. And they're, of course, associated with Warner Media. Space Jam 2 was awful.
God awful.
It was awful. But this entrance was not, and it's one of the highlights of the year.
If you want to check out the fan tracks that Rob and I did where we were watching the movie, where we were like, oh my God, this is really, really bad, then you have that up on Fanboys Anonymous. Well, if we did the best, and I agree with you, I have the same thing down. I have a couple other ones that I'll run through, but just in case, Callum, what's your best?
Well, that was definitely on my short list. Mainly actually for the Dark Order one more than the Elite.
That's on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it takes more than boots to be a cowboy or something like that. I just thought that was like a really powerful thing, and it just like gets you excited.
Of course, you go with that one, right? Cowboy Callum Wiggins.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, similarly, I almost went with the Adam Page return, his entrance into the Casino Battle Royal. Not Casino Battle Royal, the Casino Ladder match, which got him the title shot in the first place. But I thought the answer was actually pretty obvious. CM Punk's return to the company. That's technically an entrance.
Yeah, I guess
Does his whole entrance and
I didn't
jumps
think about
into
it
the
that way.
crowd. It's the most like exciting thing. That's like one of the most exciting moments that I've witnessed in wrestling in the past 5-10 years. Just CM Punk coming back after a 7-year absence and looking so happy and exciting, and he's crying on the ramp and he dives into the crowd, and yeah, it was just awesome. So
You're right. I didn't think about it like an entrance because I was thinking pre-match. But you are right.
Yeah.
He does do a full entrance.
Yeah. I also had a similar thing for Britt Baker in Pittsburgh. But the sight of all of the scarves waving in the crowd and stuff like that. It's just like they really know how to milk a hometown person's entrance
in the right way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, I completely forgot about the Britsburg thing, and that is gonna be a regular thing on here. I thought I had a lot more notes at this time when we started going through, and I was like, all right, I got to make sure that I like settle on my picks. I thought I had notes throughout the whole year for every category, and I completely forgot to mention some of them as time went on. So I'm sure there's going to be things like the CM Punk one while we're going through this, where it's like, oh, I didn't even think that would be technically an entrance, or the Britsburg thing where it's like, no, I just completely forgot to add that down there. But yeah, those are two that are fantastic. If not, solid picks to pick. I had also the Inner Circle from Stadium Stampede from the come down on the rafters kind of deal.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, Jurassic Express, because I mean the song's great.
Oh yeah, the song's awesome. Yeah.
Chris Jericho's Everybody Singing Judas.
The one where he comes out to no music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool. Any of like the Elite special entrances were fun. You know, the Ghostbusters thing's fun. I also really like when Kenny Omega had the really elongated entrances where it's like a solid, and yeah, and you got the they're with the brooms, and you got the announcement of like something North Carolina kind of thing. I always thought that's great, and you have to talk about all his title wins and all that. Those are some great stuff. On the worst side, though, that's a different story. There's a lot that I can't even remember. Like, I'll bring this name up a lot, but like, I don't remember a damn thing about Shanna, for instance. So like, I don't know what her entrance was. She probably just comes out. And there's all these people on AEW Dark where they just have music and they just walk out and they like, you know, hold their hand up like, oh, I'm number one or something. But I really, really hate the Hardy Family Office theme.
I will agree with you. I think they're gonna be on a lot of my worsts because I don't like the gimmick. I don't like it. But I think the worst entrance is, and I'm fuzzy on the date, but it's Max Caster.
That's mine. Yeah, I have that as well. Yeah, that was my choice. The mentioning Simone Biles and the Duke University.
Like the Duke Lacrosse, Simone Biles, mentioning Julia Hart, like.
It's not just a bad entrance. It's an entrance that sabotaged the push.
That nearly cost him his career.
That cost him my whatever the one category was where I had him down as the definite pick, and then I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, I totally forgot about putting that for the entrance. Yeah, that's a really good option.
Like this was, and it got exposed 24 hours beforehand because Charlotte mentioned Simone Biles on Raw. And people went in on her, and then they went, oh, yeah, well, look at this. And then they played it on Dark. Like, it was so bad. It was a really bad PR move for the company. Yeah, it's the worst entrance by far.
That's your pick too, Callum?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's just... Yeah, I mean, there are people that have, like, forgettable entrances, and there's some which aren't particularly good. But yeah, as just a single entrance, just blown out of just just completely blown up on the internet and all this other stuff.
Yeah, like
there's
somebody
nothing worse than
stop
that.
him. Like somebody, anybody. You have a company full of grown adults back there. Somebody, like, tell him no. And then at that, he looks really young, and they skew younger in that company. Like, yeah, MJF's still like 24, Sonny Kiss is like 23, 24. Julia, I believe, is 20. Max Caster's 32.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, he's not as young as you would think. And it's like, yo, whoa, hey, reel it in.
The only thing that could have beaten that is if Downstate would perform live again.
Honestly,
There's something more offensive than rape jokes.
What if Downstate did the Max Caster intro?
Well, then I think they wouldn't be alive.
Yeah.
Let's shift over to best and worst clothing, attire, ring gear, what they wear, essentially. Who are you wearing? The red carpet award. I have a couple options for best. I haven't quite figured out which one of these three I'm going to go for yet, but the two that I didn't pick that I had in my top 5, at least from what I could remember offhand, because this was one of the ones that I had written down only a few notes for. Taikon Shi always wears some good stuff. Red Velvet's ring gear looks really good on her. But the three that I'm picking from that I haven't fully figured it out yet, Jade Cargill on March 3rd, which was just generic ring gear, but it looked like, it was like, okay, she looks like a star. That was a real, like, impactful kind of like, yeah, she looks like she could be a star. And the two that I'm leaning more towards, Penta's Double or Nothing Joker outfit, and Cody Rhodes from Double or Nothing, where he is inspired by Homelander. Or at least I'm thinking he's inspired by Homelander from The Boys.
He's totally Homelander.
Yet he doesn't quite realize that he's playing the Homelander part, I'm never going to turn heel kind of thing. Unless this is just a brilliant way of being the best heel.
I think it is. We don't get to talk about AEW enough on this podcast, but I think it definitely is.
So I'm leaning more towards the Cody Rhodes one rather than the Penta one. I think I'm probably going to go with that one.
I had a few in mind. I was looking at more like just overall attires throughout the year rather than picking on one specific one, because I couldn't remember a lot of specific ones off the top of my head.
Right.
But like Darby Allen, I think, because the mixture of the face paint and just the overall aesthetic, I think looks really like good with his attire. I also really like the Young Bucks since they turned heel, just because it's so bad it's good. It's just awesome, just because they are just making everything possible to make themselves look terrible, including the like dyeing the mustache, like the Hogan style mustache and things like that. But in terms of best overall throughout the year, I think it's Thunder Rosa, hands down. I think Thunder Rosa has the best attire. She puts a lot of thought and effort into it. The one-side face paint always looks fantastic. Yeah, I think that she has incredible attire, especially the one that she wore for the St. Patrick's Day match with Britt Baker.
From a generic standpoint, I think Sting, when he's with Darby Allen, they have a really great face paint when they're together. I think, as Callum said, the Young Bucks, because they put so much effort into it. I want to give a shout out to the Varsity Blondes, because I think just visually, that's a great package. Like, that is a great... You get exactly what they're going for with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my particular, it will be the Bucks. And it's the Bucks and Adam Cole at Full Gear, where they're wearing the pink and Nick's got the pink in his beard. Because it's so ridiculous. But, like, that's professional wrestling. And you can argue not everything the Bucks do is pro wrestling, but stupid outfits like that is completely pro wrestling.
They're definitely having a lot of fun with that, and they even incorporated that into their gimmick a little bit with the thumbtack shoe, the sneakers that have that on there. Yeah, major shout out to that. On the worst side of things, I'm torn between two. I couldn't remember specifics, so I was just looking at the general scope of things, and it's either JD Drake or Brock Anderson, because I think that
What do you got against Brock Anderson?
Brock Anderson's on a couple of things on here. I think that there's a certain level of bland that's tolerable. And then you get to another level where it's like, oh, are you going for bland? Because you nailed it. And
Yeah, he absolutely was.
I just do not like that old-timey generic trunks that are like, if you're going to go generic trunks, at least go like black, where it's going to, I don't know, look like you are trying to be a little bit of a badass or something. When you go with like periwinkle blue and whatnot, I just feel like you're trapped in another era in a way that I don't like, you know?
But he's an Anderson, for God's sake. Like, that's the point.
I know, but I just don't like it. So it's that, or it's JD Drake, because it's just the most unflattering outfit.
I know this is blasphemy, but I don't like Eddie Kingston's look.
He was another option for me, yeah.
Like, in the same way that Tony just doesn't like bland, I get that it's his gimmick, and I've softened on it since Full Gear, but, like, he just looks like Guy. And sometimes I feel like AEW is this company that came along so late that a lot of the gimmicks are, well, I stopped trying because I convinced myself I wasn't going to get into WWE. So I'm stuck with this now. And that's what I think Orange Cassidy is. Because if you watch, like, Orange is just he's a guy who wrestles. But I think he convinced himself, I'm never going to make it. So he started doing that, and now he's stuck with it, for better or worse. And I think Kingston, for better or worse, is just stuck with the, yeah, I look like a guy who you're going to bump into at the corner bodega at 2 a.m. And it works for him, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, the green one in particular.
Well, that was last year. But I like that. At least he tried. No, it was Full Gear last year. At least he tried something different when he did that.
It was a tribute to Masawa when he did that.
Yeah, and like the just general, like, I am Guy who is here, I'm just not a fan of.
For me, there was one-off choice which I considered, which was Jericho's return as the Painmaker.
Oh yeah,
because it's been and gone a bit now, so it's just like it doesn't really fit him as much as it used to.
Let me ask you about that real quick though, because we were watching New Japan at the time and we were super into Jericho. Do you think, like, now that he's kind of coming full circle and he's starting to do Y2J again, that it just feels like old man is trying to be cool as opposed to veteran trying to reinvent himself?
I honestly think that a lot of the criticism that's aimed towards Jericho is just far from warranted. It's just I think people just like, oh, he's the old guy now, and so we rebel against the old guy because we all just want new guys to come in.
Well, I think, and we're not. This won't be the first time we're talking about this, or last time we're talking about this today, but I think Jericho lost a lot of credit and started taking a lot of criticism right about the time where it was like, hey, look, everybody, he donated X amount of dollars.
That's true.
To the Trump campaign. And then it was just like instantly like done for him. And
yeah.
I'll admit, like, I haven't liked his promos. I prefer him as a heel. Always did, though. He's a guy whose shtick comes across better when he's a heel that you can punch in the face.
Well, in which case, just because I know my clothing attire, the two people that I was torn between is Joey Janela, because he looks like a bum.
Yeah.
And QT Marshall, because he wears bowling shirts. And I kind of want to go for. I mean, those are two names that are going to be brought up quite a lot on my side of things. But I'll probably go with Joey for this one because, yeah, he just looks like what everyone criticizes the Indies for looking like.
You know what's crazy though is, again, put him in a different environment and he's like a god.
Right, that
Please put me in
GCW
that
kind of
different
thing.
environment at this point. Just put me in that different environment. I don't need to. And to be fair, I'm fortunate the fact that I don't have to see him that often because I don't watch Dark or Elevation that much. And frankly, he's not even on that as much anymore anyway. Because he should just go and be in the environments where he's best suited to be.
Yeah,
you know how everybody craps on Cage, but like when Cage,
I'm going to.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure we will. But like
we got against
Cage
Christian.
The company, he was huge. Don't do that. Janela is that guy who I think in 2019 maybe they thought this guy is going to be one of our guys. In 2021, it doesn't feel like that.
Obviously, I don't wish anybody to like lose their jobs and everything. So before anybody says it, I'm not saying that. But I did have something that I had been working on. I don't know if I incorporated it into one of the articles that I've written recently because I've written too much to keep track of, or if it's just something that I was like, maybe I won't include this or whatever. But no, I did. Bold predictions coming up. I don't know when I'm going to publish it, but I think that with all these contracts that are coming up in AEW, a lot of them were 3-year contracts and they're going to end this year. I think you're going to see somebody like a Joey Janela not in the company anymore because I think that their strategies shifted. They've regained a lot of the void of like, it's a new company and we don't know where we are. Now we've settled on what we are so we can fill in that gap with what we actually want instead of when we're trying to find ourselves kind of thing. And I think that Janela has been just MIA long enough that I don't think we're going to be even talking about him for the 2022 awards. Just a prediction. I don't know. So you're going with Janela on that one. Yes. What was your pick again, Rob?
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston. And mine's probably JD Drake. I'm going to go with JD Drake. So let's go signature maneuver. This could be a finisher. This could be a setup move. You could pick something like, the Orange Cassidy kicks to the shin, that kind of deal. Or you could do something like, for instance, my pick for the best, the One-Winged Angel.
No one ever kicks out the One-Winged Angel.
And no one has.
And that's all the reason why I think,
except
you know what?
Ibushi.
That doesn't count. It's not an AEW.
Yeah,
but
sure.
yeah, the way that they've protected that move on top of how it looks like it would hurt, because I'm sure it does, and especially if you do it wrong, you're really screwed. And that it was the champions. And at the end of the day, that weighs a lot for my factor. If a cool move happens, that's a different thing. I might give it that. But I like the move too. So yeah, best One-Winged Angel.
For me, it has to be a move that has rendered all other versions of this move completely obsolete, which is the Darby Allen suicide dive.
Yeah, and I'm just going to piggyback in right here because that's mine. Because Darby does it in such a way that nobody else needs to do a fucking suicide dive anymore.
Everyone else that does it is just, they can't compare to Darby Allen doing it because he launches himself like an absolute missile through the ropes. And the camera angles they get for it now are incredible. It just, I do enjoy the coffin drop as well, but that's his best move.
Yeah.
Just him launching his body at people is amazing to watch.
It's a legit suicide dive.
I want to just start off the worst because you mentioned it. Orange Cassidy, the kicks to the shin. I'm over it.
Not a fan of high spots, huh?
No. And Sean Ross Sapp has said this on the Fightful Wednesday night podcast a lot. He is far too overprotected for his gimmick. Like, look, last year there was a time where he beat Jericho and I was like, okay, cool, we're going to do something with him. We're going to, make him more serious. Now it's like he spent the entire year practically doing nothing. I don't want to continue protecting the Orange Cassidy gimmick moving forward when it's like he's cool, but he's a gimmick. Like, he doesn't need to be a focal point of the show.
I'm going to spoil that. I didn't pick him for biggest downgrade, but he was one of the people that I was thinking of because last year he really did seem like he was going to be in this major spot, and this year he didn't really do jack shit.
And yes, I know that he had a title match, but he it was more like, damn it, can we get him out of here so we can watch Pac and Omega for the title? At least for me.
I do love Orange Cassidy, but I see where you're coming from. What's your pick for worst, Callum?
Every single thing that Sonny Kiss does. He's fundamentally, I think, he's the worst male wrestler I've ever seen.
All right, now, I'm laughing because of the way he delivered that.
Right, yeah, and it's the fact that it's every single thing.
It's every single move Sonny Kiss does. Yeah. I like Sonny Kiss. I see where you're coming from. If I had to guess, Sonny might be another one of those names who is back on the independents.
I could see that being the case, yeah.
I kind of hope so. I think, again, he something that he probably flourish a bit more with a GCW or something like that, just doing a couple of like the like Effie's Big Gay Brunch or something like that.
See, but I think like AEW at least does a good job at keeping these people on their developmental programs. Where if you don't watch Dark, or if you don't watch Dark Elevation, it's not as big of a deal. Like you don't see Marco really.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference between someone like him and someone like Orange Cassidy we discussed. Like, I can still, even though of what Orange Cassidy's gimmick is, I can still buy that when the match starts and he decides to switch on, that I can still believably see him winning matches and having good matches. When Sonny Kiss goes on, it's just like, okay, this match is not serious at all. And it's not even a case of not being serious. Like, you can still have like like comedy style wrestlers, but nothing he does looks like it's landing at all. So I just, I anytime that he's got a match, I'll just immediately just switch off and not watch because I don't want to waste my time.
So I'm going the Judas effect. I absolutely hate that stupid elbow. I think it's just I get that like an elbow to the face can knock you out, but
not the way he does it though.
The way that he does it, it looks like he forgot what he was going to do and his back bumped into somebody and that they just decided to take a bump and they were like, all right, well, that's the end of the match. It never comes off to me like he's hitting an elbow strike. It's always more so like somebody got botched. And even that, I mean, I love the Code Breaker. I love the Walls of Jericho. Do those. I don't care that you want to reinvent yourself with a new move. Not that move.
I think you're being a little harsh. Because I think that Jericho doing the Judas effect worked better when it was like, was it last year or this year when we saw him slip on the Lion Salt? I don't recall, but I know it was still when they were doing the shows at Dailies. And he slipped on the Lion Salt. I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad that you
I think it's this year.
The Judas effect.
Oh, he did a also. I can't remember who he did it against, but he did an awesome one this year for the Judas effect off the top rope.
It was Hoovy.
Yeah, against 2V. That was like,
because
I thought that was awesome.
I remember thinking, what did I say he was gonna do? Oh, I thought he would do the one shooting star that he broke his arm on in '94, and I was like, oh, there's ever a chance for redemption. But yeah, the Judas effect off the top rope was cool. He's great. I just think, like I said, he's better off as a heel, and I hope he gets there. Yeah,
not a fan of the Judas effect. And for it to be a main event guy, a champion, his finisher, then it just it adds more to it. So it takes more away from it, in my mind. Spot and botch. We got the best or the coolest spot and the worst or the biggest botch, you know.
Oh.
I've got two things that I had written down for best spot. And I'm sure that I'm forgetting quite a bit of things here for the best. And the worst, I think we might all end up agreeing on.
Yeah.
But the best that I had written down, I wrote Cody splashing Shaq through the two tables.
That was pretty cool. It got massive leap on that one.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And Ethan Page throwing Darby into the crowd.
Again, it's funny. It's like that whole the whole Spike Dudley and ECW spot. It's always a fun time when someone can do that. I've got things like Adam Page does a dead eye to Pac through a table off a ladder.
Oh, that was so gnarly. That scared me, dude.
Yeah, and that was it was a scary bump, but it looked cool. Cody Rhodes flaming table spot. That's fairly recent, and yeah, it was cool, especially
I
the
wish he
fact
would
that
have worn a shirt.
he pinned the guy while on fire.
Admittedly, I
fun.
didn't see that match. I still haven't caught up on that yet. So
we had AEW Revolution where Darby Allen dives onto Brian Cage basically through a building. Pretty much, it seems like just goes to, like they just jump through a table and then they just fall wherever at that point. Just yeah, I thought that was cool. But I actually got something which is a little bit not. Well, the two that I had in my mind are not really like I guess super high spots. But one of them was the runner-up one was MJF doing the side headlock into the pin. Because I just think that's such a good way to end a match. It was one of the it was so awesome. But my best was the it was either the Pentagon, I think it was the Pentagon kick out or Phoenix breaking up the pin in that the tag match that's all out. Match? Yeah, the cage match. Because I've never heard a crowd react to a kick out like that before. Like they were jumping up and down in their seats because they just assume that the Bucks have won this one, and just Phoenix comes out of nowhere to make that save, and it's just like, oh my god, it's still going on. Oh my god, this is gonna happen. It's just like it was ridiculous, the reaction to that kick out.
Mine is Penta doing Phoenix doing the dive off the cage all out. Because you look at that and you just, after everything that they had done, it really felt like this is going to be the greatest tag team match of all time. And maybe it will be for some. But Phoenix is a spot monkey machine. He is the second coming of Rey. And I just think he's the best lucha wrestler in the world. I don't want to call him the best in the world because I think other people do the technical stuff way better, but he's the best luchador in the world.
He's I mean, I don't watch CMLL or those kind of things to be able to compare those, but out of the ones that I have seen, yeah, I'd argue Phoenix being the best luchador right now. I could see that argument for sure. Now, on the biggest botch or the worst botch, I think that there's really only two options.
Can we all just say what it is? I think we all are thinking the same thing.
Well, there's two that I could see people going with. And I think it depends on your perspective of which one was more disappointing. But it's got to be one of these two. It's either Chris Jericho's fall from Blood and Guts.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be down there.
Where he falls through this very thin sheet of aluminum foil and on top of a bunch of boxes. Or it's the one that everybody should pick, the finale from the exploding barbed wire death match.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that has to win for Botch of the Year because it was such a fundamental letdown. Because the match itself was fine. It was fun in spots where just the explosions going off, but just ending it that way with Kingston running out and this is the moment of redemption where he saves his friend, and then just a load of sparklers go off.
And you got Excalibur going, oh my god! It's like what?
It's just one of those things where the best thing they could have done, if they couldn't do a big explosion, was cut the feed and make the sound and do an explosion sound, and end the show there.
And they had to retroactively afterward make storylines about how it didn't work.
I'll give them credit for the fact that they tried to redeem it afterwards, but at the end of the day, that's just a Botch of the Year type moment. That is just a real thing that people will remember about AEW. Is it will appear if AEW lives another 5 years or so, it will appear back on retrospective shows where they look back on their stuff and oh god, what happened here type thing.
But so here's where I'll play devil's advocate and say the Jericho botch was worse. At least with the Omega Moxley botch, they tried to cover it up and they made storyline reasoning for it. The Jericho botch was literally Stop complaining. Ugh. I was scared up there. I didn't really want to fall off the top of the edge, which true, but like that's like saying I want to do my own stunts. No, I'm scared. Like that'd be like if Willem Dafoe said I ain't coming back unless I can do my own stunts, and then goes, I don't want to actually do this.
What do you mean I'm on a glider in this movie? I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, like well, what the fuck? Like, so I'm gonna say Jericho was worse because I think they covered up the barbed wire one better.
Either way, it's got to be one of those two.
Yeah, I do have to say there's a couple of, like, obviously far away from this, but a couple of honorable mentions they put down. One's the Cash Wheeler cut.
Yeah,
that was just gnarly. That was nasty that happened to.
Oh, that was bad.
And the other one, which was funny, is Arn Anderson is always falling over. It happened at least 2 times that I can remember of him just falling off the apron at one point during the match with Black, and another one in the recent match with Andrade. Yeah, where he falls off the entrance when he's been charged by Andrade's manager. It just slips over, and the manager has to lift him up out of the thing. It's just
it's sad because, like, look, Arn is old, right? And I think.
How old is he?
Very. But I think it speaks to, like, damn, don't you wish he could have done something more in a capacity like this when he wasn't as old? Because he's trying to make up for lost time now because WWE never had him on camera. I think they had him do something maybe once or twice.
Not much at all, at the very least, yeah.
The only thing I remember is he did one spine buster to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, that was like that, and I remember him talking to Sheamus during the Nexus angle, which I'm sure nobody else does. So I think Arn deserved better, but I'm glad he's getting a little bit of time to shine.
I forgot about the whole falling down.
That's hilarious. It's like, if you don't want to pick one of the major ones, that's the funny one to go for.
Because, it's obviously you don't want him to, like, fall and get hurt or anything. But, like,
but
when he fell...
he didn't get hurt on any of them, makes it hilarious.
Right. And when he fell on the match with Black, I just assumed that was a part of the, like, okay, they built that in there, so it was like a distraction or something. They're going to go with, like, a frail Arn storyline. And it was just like, no, he's just fucking fell. Like, yeah. Let's switch over to recognition. This is the most underrated and most overrated of the year. I had a bunch of names for both. Underrated, some of the options. Stop me if this is one of your picks. Because we had talked about it on a podcast, Penelope Ford. Because everybody went completely nuts on, like, that they hated her for the tier list, and I was like, well, come on, she deserves better than that.
He said you ranked her too high.
You were like, I absolutely hate this woman in all facets.
I don't recall saying that.
I'm gonna go back and edit it in.
Also, you saying, Tony, it's just like, well, I can't wait for Kip to get out of the picture and tell Caroline, obviously, but it's.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna take the things that I said outside of this. Let's see who else I got on this list. Julia Hart, I think, is underrated because I never hear anybody talk about her, and I think she's got some promise to her, but not my pick. Billy Gunn's still, the guy looks great and everything. Brandon Cutler, nobody ever mentions how great of a heel jobber he is. Griff Garrison, I never really hear anything about him. I never hear anything about Sean Spears from anybody. Sammy Guevara is fantastic, and nobody brings him up when they're talking about a lot of these people. But my main pick for the most underrated is John Silver. Because that guy delivers, and he is just so funny, and he is the highlight of BTE. And when people are talking about their favorite people in AEW, he never comes up from discussions that I hear, but he's one of my absolute favorite AEW stars.
Dude's walking the tightrope, I'll tell you that much. He is super over, but I'm sure it can dip quite quickly, because we're in an era now where, people get over super fast, and then they don't. And then they're just like, I'm over that. So I think Silver might be in that territory. But underrated for me, and now this is hard because you actually have a promotion that utilizes a lot of people. But I think, even though they were featured in big-time matches, they were not featured in big time tag team title matches, Santana and Ortiz.
Makes sense.
That's one.
These two guys have not been featured at all the way they should be, and I get it. This company has a lot of stuff going on, and they wanted this year to focus around the Young Bucks and eventually dropping into Penta and Phoenix, but this tag team should be champions next year.
They are on my list of, if they don't win the championship next year, then what the hell?
Yeah. They're my they were one of my major choices. I think I might end up going with them because it was between them and one other person, but yeah, they became a bit of a sideshow act in the whole Inner Circle and Pinnacle feud, and they had obviously the matches with FTR, but realistically they've been out of the tag team title picture pretty much all year, and so I just feel like they need to break away from Inner Circle or just focus on actually battling for the tag team titles in the very near future. Another choice though was Layla Hirsch, because that's someone who actually does deserve praise and recognition, unlike some other people that were mentioned on this by Tony. But yeah, Layla Hirsch, I don't feel has got enough exposure this year, and I feel like she definitely should have been part of the. I don't think she was in part of the TBS tournament.
If she was, I don't recall.
Yeah, and I just feel, yeah, she should be in a bit more higher. I'm not saying that she should be battling for the championship every week or anything like that, but I would have thought she could have got like a match that here or there with people like Britt Baker or people in the higher up stature. I was hoping that she'd join Team Taz realistically, at some point this year, but I would still go with Santana or Ortiz because I feel like their ceiling is higher than Layla Hirsch's is at this point, and they were already at a high ceiling when they joined the company in the first place. So the fact they haven't really reached the top of the mountain in the tag team division, or really seriously come close to reaching it, means that they're currently being recognized less. So
I think if Deeb isn't in the TBS title picture, then it's Deeb and Hirsch in the finals of the Owen.
I would have gone with Deeb if she hadn't had that feud with Shida, because that really kind of like
spotlighted her.
A lot. Yeah. So I feel like she's definitely someone they've got to build around next year.
So on the most overrated, the opposite. You hear this person touted as the best thing in the world, and you're like, I don't really see it. There's a couple of people on my list here, some people that I didn't go with, especially because I started thinking about it, and I'm like, do I really hear enough chatter about them to justify that? Like Matt Hardy being one, Colt Cabana being one, Pac being one, even, where I'm like, look, Pac is great, but I do think that people kind of sometimes treat him like he's the best wrestler in the world and should have been a 19-time world champion. And I'm like, I don't hear enough of that argument to justify it. Same for Penta. It's really down to three from my mind. One being CM Punk, because I do think that his matches have not been great, and I think that people are willing to give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. So,
because I think it's wildly intentional that his matches aren't great. That he's telling the story of like, I'm struggling here, but I'm getting my footing back.
I also think it's wildly inaccurate, but you're just entitled to your opinion.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, it's actually four people. Punk was one of them. Darby Allen to a certain extent. I do really enjoy a lot of Darby Allen matches, though. That's why I can't pick him. But again, people act like he is the best person in the company, and I'm like, I can rank a lot of people above him. So it's ultimately two, and it depends on your reactions to these. It's either Daniel Garcia or it's Dante Martin.
You're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong on both counts. Then.
So then it's a tie, because I
mean, you choose then, because we clearly don't agree with it, so it's down to your choice.
But which ultimately kind of makes it justified for me to pick that, because I enjoy seeing Dante Martin wrestle, but I get this feeling everybody thinks that he is literally like he's future world champion material, and I do not see it. And Daniel Garcia, even more so, I haven't really even enjoyed much of Daniel Garcia's matches that I've seen.
Not surprised. Daniel Garcia's whole shtick is, I wrestle. And as we've established, you're not the kind of guy who's going to go out of your way to watch a Ric Flair, Barry Windham Broadway. Like, I'm not surprised Daniel Garcia doesn't click with you. I am a little surprised that you don't see it with Dante Martin.
Well, Dante, I enjoy more than Daniel Garcia, so I was leaning more towards Garcia.
Martin flips. Right now, he's capable of doing things that he won't be in 3-4 years. So enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Because look at Ray through the years. So just enjoy this while you've got it.
Who's that no longer jumping out the sky?
For real.
But yeah, Garcia is my main pick because when I've seen this guy, I'm like, what's separating him from everybody else on Dark? It just doesn't click for me. Like, he's a guy. And when you pair him with Everrise, what do they call it now? 2.0. Then I feel like he's got no personality either. So I'm like, all right, the wrestling is just, okay, lots of good wrestlers. The look is as forgettable as anybody else. And the personality's not there. So I'm like, what is the thing that's captivating everybody? I'm not saying that he's like awful, because then it would be under the worst wrestlers of the year. And he's not on my list of worst. But
let's put out this disclaimer. Do you ever actually get the chance to sit down and watch Dynamite end to end the way that you will with a Raw?
Not as often, but when I have, and I've seen the Garcia stuff, it's like I've not been able to keep my attention on it.
But the reason I bring that up is because you're the only person, since they've regularly been on television, to refer to 2.0 as Everrise.
That's also just because I remember more of Everrise,
But I think you're the only person who would.
Yeah, because I'm the only people, one of the only people that actually watched 205 Live.
He's fine to have an opinion. It's fine. It doesn't match up to yours.
I guess you're right.
But yeah, most people don't watch 205 Live, and most people aren't as heavily invested in that. So for Everrise to have been a thing, they would have had to experience more of it. So I'm just more used to Everrise. But yeah, like, I love their personalities. I think that they're fun guys. And next to Garcia, I'm like, oh, then they've got the straight man that isn't fun as the straight man, like, I don't know. It's just doesn't click for me. So he's my most overrated. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Cal.
Well, I see what you see in Daniel Garcia, but I see it in, and this isn't my pick, but I'm just to get you a sense that I can see where you're coming from. I see that in Lee Johnson.
See, I would have gone with Lee Johnson and Lee Moriarty, but I don't hear enough chatter about them. I honestly don't know like jack shit about them.
I just don't know. I don't know why he's as prominent. I mean, he's not super prominently featured in Dark and stuff like that, but it's just a case of he just comes across as a guy to me, and he wrestles like a guy.
Same here.
So at least with Daniel Garcia, he's got more. I can see the technical side of things. Dante Martin, I can see obviously he's more acrobatic and he's got a bit more flair about him. Johnson just doesn't really strike me as anything super exciting. You got I think Andrade's been underwhelming since he's joined the roster. Just been kind of there, and so I don't really see too much in his side of things. Just the factory in general.
Yep.
Particularly Anthony Ogogo. I believe Rob picked about like 8th or 9th in our AEW draft we did earlier in the year. Saying like, oh, if you really build this guy and like really do the one punch thing, then that could really sell.
We've learned that I suck at that. I go for the guy who I think should be the future, and then they shit the bed. They shit the bed all over the place.
Yeah, but I mean, the obvious choice is Brian Cage.
See, I don't think that he's overrated. I think he's underutilized.
I think at this point, it has become an on-camera joke that Brian Cage was ever a big deal.
Yeah, I know. It's gotten to the point where maybe Tony is right that he is kind of now, but just so out of the picture that it's hard to say that he's overrated. But the fact is that he was brought in, and for most of the year he was carrying the FTW title. And I know it's not a title they defend, but it made it seem like, okay, they see something in this guy. and then he just consistently underwhelms in his position. He's just, he's powerful and he looks like Wolverine brought to life, but it's just a case of it doesn't engage when he's actually in a match. There's just something missing. It's always a bit vacuous, always a bit empty.
We will be talking about him very soon.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about him a lot, really. but yeah, I'd say he's probably my choice still for most overrated, just because at the start of the year they saw something in him, which I think he's someone who's tailor-made for WWE.
It is your pick, Rob?
So here's a guy who I'm a fan of. I am a great fan of this man. But my pick is Andrade. Andrade's done jack shit. And it seems like, and maybe I really don't recall him ever cutting a promo, but it seems like his English was better in WWE. And it seems like everything is just not clicking. Like, he's in this wild group of guys with Black and Pac and
other things that rhyme.
A lot of the WWE signees that feel like they should just be pushed to the moon. But I don't get it with Andrade. Why did he fight Cody for like 10 weeks? Why did he, I'm not seeing it with him. I don't get why Jose stuck around and Chavo didn't. I don't get why they brought him in with Vicky. I feel like there's something there with Pac that with Andrade that they think they have, that they maybe have scrapped or have moved past or something. But I love him and I hope he has a better 2022. But he just was a step off for me this year.
I can see it. Where are we on it? We're on improvement in a wrestler. So positives and negatives. The biggest upgrade from last year and the biggest downgrade from last year. Obviously, you want to be on the upgrade side of things, or you don't, because you would have been successful last year and just as successful this year, that kind of thing. But you certainly don't want to be on the downgrade. I'm going to go Miro for biggest upgrade.
Very good choice.
He comes into AEW and they give him this best man gimmick, and it's terrible. And I'm not invested, and I'm like, oh god, the last Rusev stuff was crap, and he goes to AEW and it's supposed to be like a second chance, and it's terrible. And then he starts doing the Redeemer thing. He gets the TNT Championship, and it's awesome.
I think it's a wonderful choice to say Miro. But I'm going to say biggest upgrade, and okay, this is cheating a little bit, because she was in WWE. But
it still counts, I think.
Been treated like more of a star year over year than Ruby Soho?
Yeah, I think that still qualifies. Yeah,
she was nobody. They should have won the WrestleMania tag match and won the tag titles at Mania, and all of a sudden she's at All Out and she's one of the biggest stars there. She had a great year, and I'm excited for her 2022. I want her to win the belt. I really think that she can have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to go Ruby Soho.
If she had won the title at some point, I would have considered her too. She was on my short list.
There's quite a few that I've got listed as potentials. I've got Dante Martin. Obviously, he's now like more of an established player than he ever was.
He's now a character, yeah.
On my short list too.
Yeah. Tai Conchi.
Yep, on my short list.
All the time. Jungle Boy got a bit more of like a bit more of a main event shine this year than he had the previous year. Chris Statlander, much improved in the ring compared to what she was in 2020. Serena Deeb, more highly positioned. I think obviously like at the start of 2020, she was in just a WWE Performance Center, teaching people how to do roles. Britt Baker is a potential one for this as well, because she only really started getting into a groove in late 2020, like mid to late 2020, and now she's the biggest, arguably in many people's eyes, the biggest female wrestler in the world right now. The two main ones for me is Miro, of course, because realistically it should be Miro. But Tony's already picked Miro, so I kind of feel like I want to give it to the other person just because Miro's awesome, and Miro has had a complete turnaround this year. But I'm going to give it to Eddie Kingston.
He was on my short list. Yep.
Because he went from being like, obviously he was wrestling in the main event, which makes it seem like because he's now not in the main event, which seems like it's a bit of a downgrade. But he went from being guys like, okay, he's here and he cuts good promo, but he's just kind of going to be in charge of this ragtag group of Butcher and Blade and Penta and Phoenix, and we'll see where it goes from there, to being, I think legitimately one of the top baby faces in the entire company. And yeah, I think his turnaround in terms of just in front of the audience and the fact that people now really believe in him, want to see him succeed, is, yeah, a massive turnaround for me. So I'll go with him.
Now, the biggest downgrade, I had a couple names. Cody Rhodes being one, because he went from, a figurehead of the company to somebody that I think has more criticism than anything else. I had Joey Janela.
Yeah.
I had Private Party on the list.
Don't you have to be ranked somewhere to get a downgrade?
Maybe, yeah. But I went with Brian Cage.
That was an obvious choice again, yeah.
He went from being a huge, huge deal coming into the company and making it seem like he could practically beat Moxley and become the champion to nothing this year. The only thing he did this whole year was lose a championship.
Yeah.
So, same vein, but I'm going to go Matt Hardy. And it's easy to say, well, Matt Hardy's older, blah, blah, blah. When Matt Hardy came into the company last year, everybody was, oh my God, here we go. He's going to do the broken thing. He's going to do the thing. He main evented Double or Nothing. This guy is managing a ragtag hodgepodge group of people that have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the fact they are in groups of two and they're managed by Matt Hardy. And now he's like, well, I'm not even going to be Big Money Matt anymore. I'm going to be the real Matt Hardy. Watch out for Jeff. I like Matt. I do. But this whole AEW experiment on camera has been a colossal bummer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going Matt Hardy. Other names I had were obviously Brian Cage. I could have said Cassidy, but I kind of touched on that already. But Matt Hardy for me was the biggest disappointment.
Obviously Brian Cage is on my list. Joey Janela's on my list. I had Riho on my list because she just isn't around as much anymore. But now she's being pushed towards, well, at least the match for the women's title, which she's not going to win, but at least that means that she's getting slightly more prominent again. Kip Sabian, because that guy's been seriously unlucky. SCU was a big one as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Because they died as a tag team this year, and then Frankie Kazarian spent the rest of the year being the worst Bullet Club hunter since Yoshitatsu. My choice is maybe a bit of a odd one. I've gone for the Inner Circle.
I could see that pick, though. It makes sense.
Because even though I've defended Jericho, and I still think that his shtick still kind of lands, even though it's a bit like 1990s in the 2020s. The fact is, they should have disbanded at Double or Nothing, and it would have made Jericho feud with MJF more powerful. It would have made a lot of things, because essentially they've all been apart pretty much since then as well. They barely get together now and do anything. It's detracted Santana Ortiz from feuds for the tag titles. Obviously, Sammy is now the TNT champion, but he's defended it like as little as pretty much anybody that's ever held the belt before, because when he won it, he was then dragged into that Inner Circle feud with American Top Team. So Hager just shouldn't be with the company anymore at this point, and Jericho we better placed as a just do the stuff with MJF and then go away for a little while and come back as a top heel, like not, I would say main event, but gatekeeper type character, like a guy that top baby, like upper mid card baby faces beat to then launch themselves into the main event.
So I think everybody we just talked about is emblematic of one thing. This company has outgrown its expectations so fast that Inner Circle, which could have been a big thing when it first started, has seemingly just overstayed its welcome. Brian Cage, who was going to be like a major main event guy, was quickly pushed aside. And even Hardy, who was like big signing, like almost like a Impact TNA level big signing. It's now, yeah, but we have so many other better people for what we need right now.
It's really like the rate at which this company grows is hard to keep track of, because within 2 months it could be a completely different product almost.
Right.
Which is good in some ways, because we're kind of skipping 10 years worth of stuff in 3. But that makes me interested to see.
It does scare me. I'm not going to lie. I do worry about it growing too fast.
But like at the end of 22, I'm curious what it's going to be like, you know?
Yeah, I think it'll reach a point where it levels off, but we're clearly not there yet.
I hope if it does plateau, I hope it's a good plateau, and not that it's like, all right, they ran out of all their ideas, you know? But let's talk about ring work. Best and worst, just pure wrestling skill type of a thing. You can mention so many people here. Yeah, Danielson and Omega and the Young Bucks and whatever, but I'm going to go Jungle Boy. I don't think that I've seen a bad Jungle Boy match.
That doesn't exist.
He's a very, very, like, the definition of the white meat baby face.
Mm-hmm. He kills it. Every match, he kills it.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, that's a guy that definitely exudes future world champion. There are too many great ring workers in AEW. Omega's an obvious choice. Adam Page is a great choice. The Young Bucks are a great choice. FTR is a great choice. The Lucha Bros. MJF is amazing, but he's in the ring. Like, he just works as well as he talks, and that's pretty hard to do considering how well he talks. On the women's side, Serena Deeb is the standout candidate.
Yep. Because
she's just awesome. But it's Bryan Danielson, because I don't know anybody that's, even though he was only with the company a short period of time, like he debuted in August, and he's only been there since then. His matches have been, no, I'll say this, and people might disagree with me, and people might flame me in the comments, especially if they're pro WWE. But Danielson's run in the previous couple of months, the quality of the matches is so good that it has made me hate everything he did in WWE.
Why?
Because I didn't get this instead. And he could have done all this, and he would have been younger as well. Rather than going through the point-to-point, babyface goes down for a little while, gets the heat on him, then we have the comeback and to a lame finish where someone rolls someone up or something. And it's just, it makes me feel like, I'm not saying his stuff with WWE was bad, but then I look at this and just feel like, why was he there? Why was he doing this? Why wasn't he doing this in WWE?
Brian's, 2-3 months in AEW has really shown how formulaic everything in WWE is.
Mm-hmm. And how much better it could be if everybody just is themselves instead of a version of themselves.
I don't want to just wipe it off it. Bryan Danielson as Daniel Bryan definitely elevated character work and stuff along those lines as well. But now he gets to wrestle and be the wrestler that he should have been, the wrestler that we knew he was in Ring of Honor, that he kind of as he says himself, he sleepwalked through his entire WWE run pretty much because he didn't need to think about what he's doing. And now he's thinking again, and it just shows in every match he has now.
I'm glad you said that, because my pick is also Bryan Danielson. But I want to piggyback off that and ask, do you think that's why his run when he came back was such crap? Because he came back wanting to do so much, and he maybe outgrew the Daniel Bryan shtick.
I think so.
And he just said, okay, I don't want to do it. I've never covered interviews like the one that this man did before and after he headlined WrestleMania this year, where he's just like, I don't know, the match doesn't really need me. And then he finishes the match and he's like, I wasn't even there. It kind of felt like I was dying, and I wasn't and the match was still great at Mania with Edge and Bryan and Roman.
On my match of the year list,
he wasn't happy there, and it shows.
Yeah, it's despite the fact that he hasn't been there all year, the quality of his matches in 2 segments we're going to talk about match of the year. So it's, you know.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you slightly, Rob. I don't think he wasn't happy there. I just don't think he was challenged there.
Yeah. He's,
Right,
you know,
think...
what happens when students are like, they're bored in class, so they
he wasn't
fail.
Motivated. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens with that all the time.
He was content, but he wasn't motivated.
Right.
Because I think at one point he loved the Daniel Bryan stick.
Yeah.
But I think upon coming back, because now it's very evident, like his comeback run was not great. And
I always just look at like Big Cass and then I just go, oh yeah.
The Big Cass run, the Miz matches, which were some of the most hype matches, the matches he would have with Miz, and they just formula. Oh, let's get the wives involved. And it was not great, and now you can see that because Bryan Danielson's the best in the world.
Well, let's talk about the worst.
Oh god, yeah. Some options here.
Couple names here. Rebel was on my list.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I am thoroughly underwhelmed with Brock Anderson. He was potential. Cesar Bononi.
He's the NXT Breakout Star of the Year. Why do you always do this?
I am gonna go Luther though. I think
Japanese deathmatch legend.
Like you guys might be able to persuade me on somebody else or whatever, but Luther, just I'm not getting nothing. You know.
No, I totally get it. It's totally fine. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to make a defense of Luther in particular, but there are options. I had Anthony Ogogo because he can't actually wrestle, really.
Do you think he should go away?
I know what Jordan Grace thinks. Jack Evans completely lost a step this year in the ring. He's gotten so much worse, and it kind of shows that he's just not really there. And I don't say that he doesn't want to be there, but he's just I don't know if he's still been extorted or not, but maybe that's one story going on. Joey Janela, I just don't like his style. Again, it works in a certain environment, but it's not an environment that I want to watch. Michael Nakazawa, because he doesn't wrestle that often anymore, but you know, it's never good when he does. But my choice, and I kind of spoiled that at the start, but it's Sonny Kiss because I just think he's the worst wrestler that I see currently. So it's just, I don't want to watch any of his matches at all.
I'm gonna cheat here and say Junior Dos Santos because that fucking thing sucked. Like everything he did sucked, and you would think he'd be good, but he wasn't. And I keep seeing these interviews where Jake Hager says Junior Dos Santos will be a world champion one day. No, he won't.
It seems a bit cheeky.
Done something wrong.
It seems a little bit cheeky because, like, I could say that Vicky Guerrero had a match this year.
True.
I mean, fair enough. And there are like others, like Red Velvet's okay, but people put her over like she's going to be the second coming. And I don't see it.
No, I don't either. So, you know.
I'm not Anna Jay. I'm gonna give a pass because she was out for surgery most of the year. I don't like anything I've seen of the Factory at all. I thought Colorado was gonna be a big deal. I wanted this dude to slam the Big Show. I was like, you can make him in one night, and they haven't done shit with him. Like.
There's nothing I'm getting from Solo, for instance. Yeah.
Solo's fine. Solo's that guy he's going to be the Kurt Hawkins where it's like, oh, you're great, but you're going to help everybody else. You know?
Well, also, I feel like this is the time to mention this. I don't think he's going to get mentioned a lot during this thing, which is a shame, but it's understandable. But how good is Dustin Rhodes still?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So good.
Yeah, I don't have him down on I don't have him down on any worst or anything like that. And I don't have him down on any best that I can think of. But yeah, like there's no reason that he should be as good as he still is.
I just want to put it out there because that guy's great.
Shout out to him.
Fantastic.
So on the mic work side of things, best and worst on the stick.
It's Dustin Rhodes, but he's a good promo as well. So.
Best, I've got MJF because come on.
I mean, why not? Why not?
So I'm gonna MJF, of course, but like Punk is my best mic work this year. He showed me what realism looks like. Everything he does feels like I'm being a genuine person who knows how to work real emotion into the confines of what I'm doing. Look at what he did with Kingston. Look at the realism he brought into the situation with MJF. And look at even when he had to bring up Moxley. Like, he feels like a real person, and nobody else does. Not to the extent of CM Punk, anyway.
So we got MJF, we got Punk. Who's your pick, Colin?
Oh, there's so many options. There are literally so many options. You've got Miro's like 2-minute vignettes. Promos are just so good.
Yeah.
Cody's still a great promo. Max Caster, when he's not mentioning Simone Biles, is a good promo. Bryan Danielson is fucking awesome at promos as well. He's just so, like, that's always the thing people thought, oh, he'd never be a world champion because he can't cut promo, and now he's just awesome at them. Britt Baker is great. Of course, Britt Baker is great. Mentioned it before, I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is pure emotion whenever he talks.
Realism.
Yeah, it is like just absolute realism. It's coming from his soul. You can feel like it. You can't script a guy like Eddie Kingston, but you don't need to script a guy like Eddie Kingston. And yeah, it's always very powerful. Like, he gets over, I think his ring work is great as well, but he gets over on the conviction in which he speaks to people.
Yeah.
And the promos that he cuts backstage and both in the ring and backstage. So
yeah,
almost Eddie. And Moxie's great as well. So.
Oh yeah, I want to give Mox a shout out because he had a great year. And I hope he recovers from his issues and comes back even stronger because he had a fantastic year. But I want to go back to Kingston because he is that dude that you see at the bodega at 2 a.m. And there's a realism there too. And that to me is why, as much as I love the Bucks, I've grown to dislike their segments. Because now it's like, okay, you're being too
meta
cheeky on the mic. Like, I like it. Like, the funny outfits are great, and they'll always have a great match. But Young Bucks' characters, they've lost a step for me because this company has evolved into something that is so much better and so much more pro wrestling that I don't want to see anything else. And Kingston's a great example of that, just like I said with CM Punk.
Worst? Cesar Bononi.
I've never heard him speak.
If you click on a promo, you'll see why. It's a language barrier thing. It's he hasn't delivered a single bit of anything that I've been able to really like they don't give him a microphone for a reason. I'll say
that. Options again. I've got QT Marshall because he's just bland. Brian Cage, he's very robotic when he talks. And some of the promos he cut during the Ricky Starks feud, I think, were just so like generic big man wrestlers. Like, you felt like you just pulled him out of the 1980s rock and wrestling era, just not in a good way. Like, he's the guy that's feuding with Hulk Hogan, not Hulk Hogan. That type of guy. Joe Janela, again, just doesn't work for me. But my choice is Vicky Guerrero. Because why is she there?
Well, let me piggyback because my choice is Nyla, and that package,
awful.
I don't get it, man. And Nyla's great, but that package feels like it's there just to be there. It's kind of like we've said about Cage, where it's like a relic of what the company was a year ago, and it's not clicking.
Yeah, I have not been a fan of Vicky Guerrero in here. I'll mention her later on as well. I forgot about adding her in as potential for the worst on the mic, but yeah, I hate when she gets a microphone because she just does the old stuff from, what was it, like 2011?
Yeah, like 2007 she started doing it, yeah.
07, that's when it was?
She was the hottest heel in the industry. Like, legitimate people booing her out of buildings. But now it's just like, yay, Vicky's here. I remember that from it's either I remember that from my childhood, yay, or Why is it still on my TV? Boo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a fan. I am a fan, though, of some of these best matches of the year. I still haven't fully picked. And I might just go, screw it, I'm not going to pick my rules, that kind of thing. But I have 6 picks down. And I might have just been flat out forgetting about something. I don't know. I think it's worth talking about any of these matches. And some of them I'm sure are on your lists too. The Lights Out match, Thunder Rosa versus Dr. Britt Baker from March 7th Dynamite. Fantastic match. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. I don't even need to bother to say that. Oh, this was a good match. Yeah, it's on the.
They proved that women can be main events. They can headline a pay-per-view.
Yeah, hell of a match. That makes me really want to see their rematch when they have a title match down the line. Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks on the 8/18 edition of Dynamite. I don't know if anybody else bothered to write that down. I thought it was fucking great.
I know they've had some great matches. I couldn't remember them like super specifically.
Yeah. Lucha Bros, Young Bucks, All Out. Steel Cage match.
It's on my list.
High choice. Yeah, high choice for that one.
Darby Allen versus MJF at Full Gear.
Yeah.
That match rules.
It might be my pick.
It might be mine as well.
The Falls Count Anywhere match at Full Gear. Superclick versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Amazing match. Now keep in mind too, I watched Full Gear like 2 weeks after it, knowing the results. Because this happened on my honeymoon. This happened on a day where I was like, I'm not going to not have my, the wedding in Brazil there. I'm going to go do that. And then I'll watch Full Gear later. So I found out all the results. And usually that can spoil some of it. But these both matches were just so good. And of course, you got to talk about Bryan Danielson, Hangman Adam Page, Bruno is coming.
Before we get to that, I want to add, you didn't say CM Punk and Darby Allen, and I know how you feel about that match, but I love that match. I think Punk, again, showed how easy it is to work. And that match was fantastic. You didn't say Kenny Omega and Christian Cage on Rampage.
Oh, damn good match. Yeah.
Like, that match is one of my favorites, and while he won't be, like, any of my picks for, like, Wrestler of the Year or even, like, Comeback of the Year or whatever, I think we're all already taking Christian for granted, and I want this said. He is amazing. He is one of the best wrestlers to ever do it, and that match proves it. Then all right, I want to talk about Danielson and Hangman, because that is one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen on TV. I think that match, if AEW shits the bed tomorrow and they just become TNA, where everything is a joke, right? That match will stand the test of time as, remember when this shit was good. That match is one of the best matches Danielson's ever had in his life. And he's had a lot of them. It's easily the best match Hangman's ever had. They kept you entertained for 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have ended it at any point at 59 with, the buckshot. They didn't have to do the draw. They kept you entertained. That is professional wrestling. Bryan Danielson is professional wrestling. Hangman, I'm not sold will be a long-term champion, but he has proven against Danielson and against Omega that he belongs. That, to me, is like the first Okada and Omega match, but on North American soil, where you look at it and you go, okay, this dude is undeniable. Hangman Page is undeniable, and Bryan Danielson lays claim to being the best wrestler in the world.
And it's the type of match that you would say to somebody, I know you don't like pro wrestling, but watch this.
But you'll like this.
Right.
Yeah, sit down for an hour. You've never no one wrestling, but like sit down for an hour, dedicating a whole hour to this.
Well, see, I think you don't tell them that ahead of time, and you wait and you see if they're captivated.
You can see if it holds their interest.
Right. Because I think that would be the type of thing where you'd be like, just watch this match. Just watch one match with me. That kind of thing. And I think if, of course, obviously some people aren't going to like it, but if somebody is going to be 10 minutes in and they're going to be like, oh, this is so boring, when is this going to end? Then you shut it off. But like, I think there's a good chance that you show that to somebody who's on the fence and they sit there and they watch the whole thing and they don't even realize that an hour went by. Because I didn't realize that. Like, it got to a point where it was probably about like the 45-minute mark where I was just like, oh, you know what? This is going on a little long. I wonder if it's like about like 30 something minutes by now. And then the next thing I know, it was like, all right, the bell's going to ring. And it's, they're saying like, 1 minute remaining or something. And I was like, oh, wait, shit. It's been an hour. Okay. Hell of a match.
Yeah, there's so many great choices. We haven't really even mentioned Omega versus Danielson. Like the match that Danielson came in with, like that 30-minute time limit draw, which was also just pretty much an encapsulation of this match, just done at a faster pace. It was just like, yeah, that was awesome as well. Omega versus Page from Full Gear was
amazing.
Yeah, it was a great match, and it had that finish with the Young Bucks, which made it like even more interesting and intriguing for what's going to happen going forward. And I think I need to mention Serena Deeb versus Hikaru Shida too, which I thought was, I think it's better than the Baker and Rosa match. I think it's the best women's match they've had all year.
I don't think that I actually saw that one. I think that I might have missed that one.
I like the third one they did at Winter's Coming. That was fantastic.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, I like the second one the best out of all three of them. They're all great, so they're worth checking out. It's a great series of matches. And obviously the Page and Danielson and the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks. I always thought it was going to be between like Page. It was going to be either Page and Danielson from Winter is Coming, or the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks in a Steel Cage, or MJF versus Darby Allen. But then I think about this match, and I just feel like, okay, this is just what I want to see from pro. Maybe not all the time, but this is just what I want to see from pro wrestling. How real and visceral it can get. And it's CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston from Full Gear.
Yeah.
It was the shortest match on all Full Gear, but it leaves the most like powerful memories in me from that match. It was just how violent it was, how unchoreographed it clearly was, but they still managed to throw things together. The fact that Kingston starts it by just knocking Punk out with the back fist at the start of it, and just like fighting like through the like in around the crowd and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, this was a proper brawl, and it was the best match Punk's had since his comeback. And it's what we've said before, in both in their promo work and stuff like that. It's that realism, that element that other people are trying out there to have the greatest match possible, where they're trying to tell the best story possible. And I think that was the difference maker for me. But I also want to shout out other matches Danielson has had as well, because obviously I've said he's got the best framework. So a match that I think goes underrated is the match with Minoru Suzuki, because it took place in that
it just happened on like a
show.
Rampage or something. Yeah,
that match was awesome as well. And also Brian had a match with Eddie Kingston in the semi-finals of the Eliminator tournament, and that match was also fucking awesome.
Because Brian is also bringing the realism, like.
But yeah,
AEW. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm gonna go with Punk and Kingston as my choice. Just love that match, and I could watch it over and over again.
AEW.
I could watch it 4 times in the time it takes me to watch Page and Danielson.
That is true. And when it's done right, like, this company is doing some of the best wrestling in the world. I think that's why the bad stuff stands out that much more.
I'm gonna go a Go versus Rhodes Double or Nothing for my worst match of the year.
It's a fair choice.
Yeah.
I have a few options. I had 3 written down. I had the Gun Club versus the Factory. Because why the fuck did you put the Gun Club versus the Factory on Dynamite? Just like, what the hell were you thinking? Hager versus Wardlow in that cage match. Because just no. Like, Wardlow can't do worked MMA. Wardlow's good at what Wardlow does, which is squash people with power bombs. Can't do that in a mock MMA fight. And frankly, Hager's not that great either. And he's only got an undefeated streak because he just fights people that aren't particularly good either. But the obvious choice, I think, for me is Britt Baker and Rebel versus Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. Because what the fuck were you thinking putting that match together?
I don't even remember it, but I vaguely remember thinking that was terrible and probably I had that on my list. Yeah.
Of course, Vicky's not actually going to be matched. This is the match that we thought at the time before we knew that she was coming back to WWE. Oh, this is where you bring in Rosita or whatever Zelina Vega would rename her.
Oh, right, yes.
And then it turns out, oh no, we're actually putting Vicky Guerrero in a match and we're expecting you to watch it. It's like terrible. Like, it's one of the biggest missteps they've made in their entire women's division this year, which has come on like a great deal of strength this year, and I think it's gotten a lot stronger. But that was a massive left turn in the wrong direction.
For me, my worst match, I did think about Cody and Ogogo because it's not good. I thought about some of the stuff with Starks and Cage because, again, like, I'm not a fan. But I landed on the match at Full Gear with the Inner Circle and American Top Team because it felt like a Dynamite match. It felt like a match they could use to anchor a Dynamite, and it wasn't that entertaining. It had gone on long enough to where it was like, I don't want to see these guys fight, and it just took away time on a pay-per-view for me, and I didn't come away liking any of it.
It's a weak point on a great pay-per-view. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that and the Cody tag match.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that too.
Why were you there? That type of thing.
So let's shift over to the writing awards. These categories are all essentially not like the technical stuff is more like specifics. This is more broad strokes in a lot of ways. Catchphrase or slogan. Big fan of the North Carolina stuff. I'm a big fan of I'm better than you and you know it, but I'm going to go cowboy shit for the best.
Great slogan. It's a great, like, chant. Just has the right number of syllables to be chanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a good, like, pop for him to be like, like, oh, like, what are you going to do when you go face this, whatever? Well, I'm going to go do some cowboy shit. And people are just like, yeah,
I would. Cowboy shit's a great one. The I'm better than you and you know it. It lends itself to. It's so easy. It's such an easy feud creator, and I'm gonna go with that because MJF has legitimately continued to prove to be one of the best in the world, and yeah.
The memester in me wants to go send hook. Because that's just like it's taken on a life all of its own. Because this is great. I like the House always wins for not so much Duke Hudson, but Malachi Black's House of Black. I do like. Obviously, I like Max Caster's raps, but then I also like Anthony Bowen at the end just screaming the Acclaimed have arrived after whatever city they're in. You've already mentioned I'm better than you and know it and cowboy shit. So in the sake of being different, I'm gonna go DMD.
Oh, that's crazy over too.
So worst. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. These are the two options that I was thinking of. It's Sting.
Oh no, you can't do that.
Because he doesn't even do it with any like enthusiasm anymore. He just goes, "It's Sting," and it just. But even more so, I think I might have given this last year too. Zero Miedo.
Yeah, I didn't even say that this time around. I didn't want to fucking waste time on it.
He just does it too much.
He only says it like a dozen times in each match.
Yeah. Yes, I just didn't want to do that. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, fuck it. It's
also, I'm at that point with Penta says. Okay.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah.
I liked it, but like he's getting so involved now that I'm like, it's getting a little watered down.
See, I actually kind of like it more that he's like super over the top with it. But yeah, I'm gonna go Sarah Miedo.
I might ruffle a few feathers with my choice, considering what Rob said earlier, but I've gone with outwork everyone.
It's a dumb slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I couldn't think of anything that was like super offensive to me. So that was the one that I felt like I think he felt it was really powerful when he came up with it, and then it's just like, okay, got it on a t-shirt, and he occasionally like he's now trying to build up the idea that like, oh, he wrestles more than anyone, and now it's the point of where he doesn't actually wrestle that much in the last couple of months, so it's kind of irrelevant at this point. So yeah, I just had to go with that because there wasn't anything that I particularly felt. Yeah, that's not particularly bad. Oh, also shout, and the best one that I forgot about was for the Redeemer as well, because that's a great name for someone.
And what was your pick worst for Rob?
My pick for worst? Oh, you know what? I am gonna go Penta says because it's too much. Too much.
The Gimmick. Oh, you know, actually, the Excuse Me from Vicky Guerrero could be one of the worst, too.
Oh, yeah.
Why is she still bothering to do that?
Yeah, definitely. I also didn't actually mention Worst for Mike Workers Potential. I didn't mention fucking Dan Lambert. That's it's neither here nor there. We already moved past it, and Vicky's worse than he is anyway.
Oh, I thought that Lambert was fucking great on the mic.
Oh, we're gonna come up with some negative stuff where I've got Lambert listed down, but we'll get to that.
So the Gimmicks are next. The character work. I never picked anybody as I don't know who I'm going to go with for best. I have a couple of options in mind, but I didn't settle on one yet. So I don't know. I might be persuaded one way or another. Because it's easy to say Hangman Adam Page, MJF, Dark Order, the Elite group, people, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Who you guys got?
Adam Page. Very self-conflicting millennial cowboy is the best character because it's relatable and yet still in a gimmick which is kind of like has stood the test of time wrestling. Like the cowboy gimmick has always been a gimmick. Every promotion has a cowboy, it feels like, but this cowboy is different.
Smark Out Moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just a big gimmick. But this one's different because it's a cowboy that wrestles with self-doubt all the time and has always been trying to prove himself, and just when it feels like he was about to overcome like the doubts that surrounded him, he always gets knocked back down a peg or two. But now he's the world champion, and but he's still grappling with that fear because he's still having to work with people, guys like Danielson, who are just in many people's eyes like the best wrestler in the world. So he's still having to always live up to that next level and always going to try and overcome more, even though he now is top of the mountain. So yeah, I just think that his story is so well told, and that's why people gravitate to him so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna go best character, Miro.
It is awesome. It is an awesome gimmick. Redeemer's great.
Yeah, you know what? I think it might go Miro too.
It's an actual character, and it's
with his God and his hot wife.
Good.
Right.
God and his hot wife. And he has mastered the WWE old school vignette of like, I'm talking in front of a screen for 2 minutes. Miro is great. They got to do something with it. But for right now, I'm cool with where they are.
I just think Dark Order works better as like the social club baby faces that they are now than they did as a heel group.
Oh, they are so much better as baby faces that are like comedic. Yeah, it's night and day. That whole what do they call it, creepers? That's what they were.
Yeah,
none of that worked.
No. But it's so different, right? Like it's so different from what they were going to be. Because originally it was like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and we'll figure out the rest. And then it became Brody's group, and then it became what it is now, which is just a far cry from what it was ever supposed to be.
So much better now. But I can't say this thing. Same thing for worst. I have two options that I had written down. One that I don't think is going to be offending a whole lot of people, but it was something that I wanted to call attention to, which is they call Kylan King the Queen of Crazy. In what fashion? She does absolutely nothing that indicates that she's the slightest bit crazy.
And today I learned they called Kylan Queen the Queen of Crazy.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like that's one of her monikers, the Queen of Crazy. Like she
you sure
smiles.
that's not something that she does like on the indies or something?
I've heard them refer to her as that on Dark, and
Well,
it's
God
just like
bless you, pal.
I'm like the first time I heard it, I was just like that has to be a Botch or something, and then I looked it up on like her wiki sheet and stuff, and I was just like, oh wow, she goes by that. You could have fooled me because she doesn't do anything that indicates that at all. But I
feel like
really,
you and Excalibur are the only two people that know that.
Maybe. We're the only ones that still refer to them as Evereyes too. But I really, really, really hate Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero as those thief nuns on BTE.
Well, I wouldn't count that because it's on BTE, but okay.
I'm counting it anyway just because I hate it.
It's part of the extended universe.
Yeah, I hate it. I don't like any of their skits.
I've got a few choices. Abaddon. Just because I just don't think the zombie thing works.
Yeah.
I think it would work if it was somebody else.
Mate, I think that she really goes wholeheartedly into the character. I don't think it's the person that's the issue. It's just that I just don't think the gimmick is right for this time. I mean, we'll talk more about zombies when we get to the WWE awards as well. But
isn't that weird?
Men of the Year.
Strange.
Like, what are Men of the Year? Why are they Men of the Year?
Mm-hmm. Doesn't make any sense.
I hope that year is in 2021, because in which case, then I don't know what they've got to look forward to beyond that point. Hardy Family Office, because
Fuck 'em.
why? They're just a mismatch of people that don't really work together.
We'll talk about them again for sure.
Yeah. But the worst gimmick is the Factory, because it's like, okay, we're breaking away because we want to stand out, and we're the real heart of the future of this company. Like, I'm the leader, QT Marshall, but like, I've got these hot young prospects that are coming through now, and none of them are like that impressive or have done anything that really stands out among them. And yeah, the Factory's just was completely lame and forgettable, and encapsulates some of the worst times of the entire 2021 for AEW.
See, I disagree with the Factory because I think on the surface there's something there. You could do something with QT Marshall being the coach at the Nightmare Factory and those being his top students. They just didn't capitalize on it. The Hardy Family Office is garbage, man. It's not even like, all right, we can make something of this. It's, I'll take the Butcher and the Blade because they come in groups too, and I'll take Private Party, and I'll take TH2, and I got the bunny. I'll take Penelope. She's by herself. I'll just group her with the bunny. It's, what are they learning from that? What segments are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're just there to be like a hodgepodge, and it's like, that's one of those ones where it's like, this ain't the 70s. You don't just do, well, I'm a manager and I have a hodgepodge of guys. It's like, give them something.
It's like, you would think that they think that this is the Heenan family. And what's the connection point?
And like, why do they have brass knuckles? Like, the brass knuckles get passed around. It's like, what's the significance?
Yeah.
Why isn't Hardy using those more often? Like, they could do so much more.
So title reigns, best and worst. I'm going to go, I'll just make this quick. I'll do both of mine. Best, Kenny Omega AEW World Championship. Worst, Brian Cage FTW. For self-explanatory reasons.
Best, Kenny Omega AEW Championship. Worst, Ricky Starks FTW. Because Ricky says he's healthy, but they're not doing much with him. So what the hell?
Oh, do you want to make this a trifecta, Cal?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Best Miro TNT champion. Just, yeah, I thought he meant more to that title, I think, than Kenny did to the world title, which sounds weird, but like, I still think that Miro's reign was spectacular.
I disagree, but that's okay.
Worst, Sammy Guevara TNT champion. Because he's done absolutely jack shit since winning that title.
He's defended it a couple times.
Yeah, against but it's just like, okay, defending against Jay Lethal, and he's defended it against Ethan Page at one point when they were in but his feud was completely subsumed by the Inner Circle versus American Top Team feud. and then since then, and he's going to lose the title to Cody. So like that's I
You
feel pretty
think so?
confident about it. I feel pretty confident about him losing it to Cody at the Holiday Bash or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, I think I would go with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, but their titles don't actually. I don't really classify them as major titles because they've only been defended like twice in the whole
But
year.
the thing is, they do. They always.
Well, I almost feel like it's something that's like AEW doesn't quote unquote. I know it sounds weird to say, but I just in my mind they don't really recognize it, but because it was Taz and Taz was with Brian Cage and was with Ricky Starks, and he's with Ricky Starks, just a case of like, okay, he's just wanting to get the title belt, and Brian Cage was silly enough to put it on the line, even though he had no reason to do so.
Fair enough.
So, most shocking moment. We don't have a best and worst. It's just what's the most shocking moment. All I could think of was the Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson debut.
Right.
Yeah, that's the obvious choice.
Because like Punk wasn't shocking.
Because we knew it was happening.
Right.
Cole in particular was like, oh shit, this guy was just on NXT TakeOver, and now he's here. Like that felt like a big moment.
The Christian thing would have been, but it leaked. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's things like, something that's like potentially even more shocking but just doesn't hit as hard is who the fuck fucking Juventud Guerrero would be wrestling in like 2021 in AEW. True. And Nick Gage as well. Part of the whole
maybe one of the most shocking moments of the year is going from the pizza cutter spot to a Domino's ad.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But it's Danielson and Cole's debut because they just did it back to back, and it's just like, yeah, that's awesome.
So then you got my pick, you got Callum's pick. What are you going with, Rob? You going with that too?
I'm going with Cole and Danielson.
Yeah, trifecta. Best and worst Smark Out moment.
Have we?
So
just want to check because obviously I've got my own list there. Have we missed heel and face turns?
Or, yeah, I don't have them on this list.
Oh, you don't have it? That's our gimmick, Tony.
Yeah.
Our whole gimmick is heel and face
stop
turns.
Fighting it.
I need to fight it a little bit. It can't be the website.
All right, fine. We can move on past that. The worst.
Well, did you have any in mind?
Interested. Oh, the best for me is Eddie Kingston turning babyface because it just worked out well. And the worst is the Gun Club because why the fuck did the Gun Club turn heel?
That's true.
Yeah,
I'll agree with you on the Gun Club. Yeah.
The best and worst Smark Out moment. Overall, just best and worst moments of the year. I really liked Jericho's promo on Pinnacle on the 4/7 edition of Dynamite. I really liked the Cole and Danielson debut, but I think I got to go CM Punk's debut.
CM Punk's debut is the correct answer, yes.
Yeah, it has to be CM Punk's debut. But I will give shout outs to obviously Danielson and Cole's debut. I love the whole Dark Order versus Elite tag 10-man tag match. I know it wouldn't have come down in my match of the year, but like just as a moment, especially the build up and the entrances, that was just so well done. And also, True Mean Potential Hook's debut.
Yeah,
there's nothing got people talking like Hook's debut.
I love that people are passing around the Simpsons thing of like, that little guy hasn't done anything yet, and he's gonna be awesome.
But yeah, CM Punk has to be.
Worst moments of the year, the Jericho fall is on there. The weigh-in is on there for sure.
The weigh-in was awful.
But I'm going to go Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch finale.
Yep, same. Yeah, has to be.
I'm good. I'll go with that for this one because I went for Jericho for the other one.
I also had listed Minoru Suzuki's music is cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, they turned that into a story.
Yeah, I like the fact they turned it into a story. It's just like, why did they do it in the first place? That's obviously I love a lot of about Minoru Suzuki, but the best part is the music. And I also had it worse just in Andrade's entire run, especially his debut, because it just felt like it all fell a bit flat.
I'm glad we agree on that.
Another thing that I had down as potential worst moment of the year was Cody teasing that he's going to retire and hanging up the boots.
Oh, was that when Black turned up?
No, that was when Black beat the shit out of him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just did not like that because I'm like, Why are you doing
'Cause
this whole like
it's
multiple
unbelievable.
the
Yeah.
multiple teases that you're going to retire and what, like, you stop milking it, you know? So really, really didn't like that at all. So 2 Cody Rhodes moments and then 2 spot moments kind of thing. Best and worst storyline of the year. This one I feel like I'm missing a lot on. So people will be like, "What? Why didn't you remember this and that one?" And I might be like, "Oh my God, that's right." Best, I'm going to just say the general rise and fall of the Elite.
Yeah, I'd say that's a top contender for best because everything has revolved around the Elite really in the main event scene this entire year.
Yeah. But yeah, like the Omega heel turn, you got the Young Bucks heel turn, you got the fact that the Bucks were okay with Paige beating Omega. Like, they're, interesting stories like that. I do really like Redeemer Miro. And I'm sure that there's just so many that I'm missing out on. So what do you guys have?
Go first, Cal.
The best ones that I kind of thought of were I liked the Labors of Jericho storyline. I thought that really worked out. I thought it was just like, it's cool to just see people that Jericho's never faced before and people from his past coming in and getting involved. The whole Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa stuff from earlier in the year. The whole Elite stuff. Black versus Cody, for the most part, is good. Kingston Punk's great. Omega and Moxley from really early in the year was good stuff. I'm going to go with MJF and Darby Allen. I thought that their thing, the whole thing is built around them being 2 of the pillars of AEW, and it felt like, okay, this is a really good feud, but it's laying the groundwork for 3 years down the line, well, maybe even like a year or 2 years down the line, where they're both fighting for the world championship. I just kind of like that. That's going to be a precursor for things that will happen in the future.
We can hope.
I'm gonna go with Punk and Kingston. They did more in 2 weeks than I've seen people do in 9 months.
Got a baby?
I mean, honestly, it was a great wrestling storyline of a baby. Like, that was fantastic storytelling in 2 weeks.
So the worst. There's a lot that I had written down here. 2 that I kind of narrowed it down to. Baker and Rose with the burgers. Because what the fuck was that?
Yes.
It was like heel Baker and heel Nyla Rose, and they're fighting over that she's got a bunch of hamburgers or something. What? Like, did I just have a brain fart and miss something or what?
So, yes, here's what you missed. She ended up being shouted out on social media by McDonald's, and it was like a big thing. So they give her a bunch of McDonald's burgers. I don't think they could advertise McDonald's.
That's it. So then the thing I missed didn't even redeem it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a social media thing, which sometimes they do.
Yeah, awful. But more so, I picked what I'm dubbing delusional Cody Rhodes. Because this just all year, you got the Ogogo stuff with the American Pride angle. You got the Nightmare Family and Friends feuding, the Gun Club turn, the fake retirement, the QT Marshall feud, the Malachi Black stuff that I haven't liked, the Andrade stuff, everything with Cody Rhodes this year. Like, there's no storyline element that I think worked.
Nightmare Factory and Nightmare Family was high on my list. But I'm going to go with something that I think they've been doing since the company started. And that's the custody of the Lucha Bros. I'm so sick and tired of people fighting over the Lucha Bros. Hopefully it's done now, and I hope they never bring it back.
Yeah, they've been a part of 3 stables, I think?
Because they were in the A Kingston thing, and then that broke off back into the Pac thing. And then Andrade spent half the time trying to get them to join him, and then they just dropped it. It's weird.
Yeah, there are a lot of I have quite a few options for worse. Brian Cage versus Team Taz. Just no, very underwhelming. Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, you mentioned. Don't know why they're putting 2 heels against each other, especially as Britt Baker's first feud. going off a title reign was just like I was almost getting on my high horse at that point, thinking I told you this reign wasn't going to be as good as everyone's hoping it to be, but like it's picked up a little bit since then. Hardy Family Office versus Best Friends, because that feud just will not die.
Yeah, I thought about that one as well, but I've shit on the Hardy family enough.
Joey Janela versus Sonny Kiss, which was thankfully largely contained in Dark.
Yeah, I didn't even really see any of that.
Yeah. The whole Codyverse, as I like to call it, it's just the extended Codyverse it was basically all the stuff before the Aleister Black thing, which I thought was Malachi Black thing, which I thought was pretty good. Just everything that involving his feud with QT Marshall, all that stuff.
The go-go stuff, yeah.
Well, I'll come back to that one, because that one's probably the one that I will go to. But there are two choices I have. One that just missed out, Paul White versus QT Marshall. Because for some reason, like, they did all of that stuff with him, and he just beat up the entire members of the factory, just rendered them all useless. And then the Gun Club turned on Paul White for some reason, and then nothing happened.
Yeah.
They have not done a damn thing with that, and that drives me insane.
Yeah. But my two main choices are either Rhodes versus Go-Go, because it just represents a lot of stuff that I find so lazy about like traditional wrestling storytelling. Is just like, oh, the evil foreigner versus the like hometown babyface, and like America, fuck yeah, that type of mentality. And it's just like, it's time to move on. Like, the world is so interconnected and international now. So why are we doing a story where the British guy is the heel because he's British, and the American guy is the babyface because he's American? But I hate the American top team against Inner Circle, and I really despised Dan Lambert when he was on the screen, because it was too much, and it was every single show. And I get it, you can't get Jim Cornette to appear in your thing, but don't keep feeding me like Dan Lambert every single week. It would be fine if it was once every couple of shows and stuff like that, but it was just constant, and realistically it didn't lead to anything. And the fucker's going to be back. He's coming back. It's just like, why won't he go? Why doesn't he do the thing that he does in every wrestling promotion, which is he comes in, has a feud with some guy for 3 months, then goes away and goes to another promotion? Why is he coming back?
I'm going to ask a serious question here. What happened to Lance Archer? Remember when Lance Archer beat him up? And I think that was the last thing he did on TV.
Yeah. It's probably just had like a long-term injury that they don't like to publicize that sort of stuff too much. But
I guess that could be what it is. But that just brought that back into my mind, because you're right. He came in, got beat up, and then just came back and kept getting beat up. I think with Lambert, I would have liked it more if a young guy was the guy stopping him, because he's saying, I remember when wrestling was better, but it's like, you've got one of the veterans of the Attitude Era, like, being the guy to stand up to you. Shouldn't it be like I don't know, Varsity Blondes or something?
Yeah, so we're going to round out our writing awards here. Pay-per-view or special event. It could be, an extra episode of like TV, like Fyter Fest. It could be something like Double or Nothing. I'll just say this right now. I don't have a worst, because I didn't see all the specials. Some of them happened during time frames where I like wasn't watching, just because of like the wedding and everything. So I don't know if one of them would have been the worst. And I just, prior to that, I hadn't written anything down. So I'm going to go with, I don't know, for the worst. But for the best, I'm going to go Full Gear.
I think Full Gear was a great pay-per-view, but I'm going to go All Out, because that felt like the changing of the guard. That felt like, okay, this is a real competitor now. We've got Punk and Ruby's here, and Adam Cole just came fresh off WWE TV, and Danielson has really decided to leave WWE. So I'm going to go with that for best. And for worst, it's toss-up between Road Rager and Beach Break, because those are events that end up getting names but aren't as like really noteworthy. But I'll say Road Rager, because I think that's had more of the Cody and QT stuff, and I wasn't big on it.
Yeah, I pretty much just echoing what Rob said there. It's just best is All Out, because even though I believe Full Gear was the better wrestling show, All Out was just a moment based show, along with some very good wrestling as well, especially the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks tag match. But it felt like just a big moment heavy show. And Worst is one of either Beach Break or Road Rager, because it was one of the TV specials that was done in front of nobody. So,
that as well.
Yeah, so that's always going to affect it. Like the stuff that happens post fans coming back will always be seen in a more favorable light than the stuff that happened before fans returned.
So we got one more block to go with here. Performer awards. These are very specific about the people you see on the screen. It's basically the merger of the on-air personality and wrestler awards from the WWE side of things. We have to split that because there's just more options, but we're doing it all in one shot here. Manager or valet. Anybody who just like accompanies people to the ring. They could wrestle in an oddball kind of thing, but they're mostly just manager types of, so you got like your Alex Abrahantes and you've got your Tully Blanchard and, that kind of thing. I think the full list, I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody here, but just let me double check. Alex Abrahantes, Arn Anderson, Brandon Cutler, although he's a wrestler, so that's kind of, I don't know if you really count that. -1, Brody Lee Jr., Chavo Guerrero, Don Callis. Why did I say Callis? Jake
Callis?
Roberts. Yeah, for some reason I said Don Callis. Don Callis, Jake Roberts, Jose, Mark Sterling, Matt Hardy, Rebel, Taz, Tully Blanchard, Vicky Guerrero, and then I guess you can kind of count Hook. I don't know, but he started wrestling too, so that's another thing with like the Cutler side of things. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody else, right?
Don't think so. Well, Chavo was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I have him down though. My favorite is Don Callis. Taz is a very close number 2, but Don Callis I think really did help out Omega. And my worst is Vicky Guerrero because of all the things we've been saying.
Yeah, Vicky's the worst for me. Chavo was close, but he wasn't really there long enough to really cause too much of a nuisance. It's weird, both Guerreros with my bottom 2. But yeah, Vicky, I just don't know what she's adding to the No Rose character. Best, I'm going to go with... There are a lot of choices. I like Brandon Cutler. I like Don Callis. Rebel's a good choice. I feel like she actually adds something to the Britt Baker character. Brody Lee Jr. is fun.
He is fun.
He's around. Yeah,
I for the longest time I kept making a worst kid award for the, and if I did that this year, it'd be best kid award because that kid's great.
But best I'll go with Tully Blanchard. I think he just adds so much credibility to being part of the Pinnacle and especially to FTR's act. So yeah.
I'm gonna just quickly echo what Callum said. Worst, Vicky, for all the reasons we mentioned, and best is Tully Blanchard because he does add so much to FTR. And I can't believe there was 30 years, pretty much, where he just wasn't in wrestling. So everything he's bringing feels fresh because he just wasn't around.
On the commentator stuff, if I'm not missing anybody, I think that the list is Chris Jericho, Excalibur, Jim Ross, Mark Henry, Paul White, Taz, and Tony Schiavone. I don't think I'm missing anybody on that.
No.
Best, I'm going to go Excalibur. Tony Schiavone, very close to it. But Excalibur, I think, is the anchor. And my worst, I'm going to go... It could have been JR, could have been Mark Henry, could have been Jericho. But I think I'm going to go Paul White. All 4, though, I could see a case.
Best, I'm going to go Tony Schiavone, very close. I'm going to go Taz. Dude makes me laugh when he starts just singing the songs, and he's so much fun on the mic.
He is a lot of fun.
He can also be serious, which I enjoy. But Tony Schiavone, very close number 2. Worst, I'm going to say Mark Henry, just solely based off the fact of look how quickly they removed him from Rampage and put Ricky Starks in his place.
I guess technically, could we count Ricky Starks? We could, I guess, because Chris Jericho,
could,
I have it on the list. Yeah. Starks has
I
been
don't
around
think
there long enough. He should have been on the list.
he's been around for like a month, but
he did dark stuff too.
Mark Henry would be my worst.
Yeah, I'm pretty much again going to echo Rob. Really, best I think is Taz. He both has the like excellent wrestling knowledge, so he can really add weight to the match by explaining what's happening. But then he's just funny, and whenever he's involved in, whether it's one of his guys involved or whether he's just like having fun with like people dancing or singing along to Ruby Soho or Jungle Boy's theme, it's just it's all great. And yeah, Taz is exceptional. Excalibur's close, Shivani's close. I think Jim Ross is more on the best side than the worst side, personally. But yeah, I'd definitely go with Taz. Worst is Mark Henry, because there's one thing that I remember most about Mark Henry's short stint on commentary, which is from the first dance, which is when Punk's making his entrance, and everyone gets a chance to say some really cool stuff about like, oh, Punk's return, like Jericho says some stuff, and Jim Ross and Excalibur, they all get to like say their piece, and then Mark Henry just goes, wow. just that for like 3 seconds, just like, yeah, great Mark, great job there.
Also, I think it was like the second episode of Rampage or something, but he goes, who cares about karate when you know crazy?
Oh God, yeah. You know what, Mark Henry is the worst. Yeah. That's right. We got to put Mark Henry down as the worst. We get that a trifecta. I forgot about the crazy. Oh crap. Let's see where we're on now. We are on the best and the worst newcomer of the year. So the list of people, you can find it on the page on smarkoutmoment.com. I've got them all indicated where, you know, if you don't know who's brand new, it's from the best of what I could remember that they hadn't been signed yet necessarily at that certain point. But very quickly running down this list. If I'm forgetting somebody, let me know. Newcomers of this year were Adam Cole, Andrade, Bear Bronson, Bear Boulder, too many B's, Bobby Fish, Brian Pillman Jr., Brock Anderson, Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, CM Punk, Daniel Garcia, Ethan Page, Fuego del Sol, Griff Garrison, Hook, Jamie Hayter, Jay Lethal, Jeff Parker, Julia Hart, Kira Hogan, Lee Johnson, Lee Moriarty, Layla Hirsch, Leo Rush, Malachi Black, Mark Henry. He hasn't wrestled yet, but they kind of constitute him as that. Matt Lee, Paul White, Red Velvet, Ruby Soho, Satnam Singh. He signed. They announced it.
He signed, but they haven't wrestled.
Right. Sean Dean, Thunder Rosa, and Tony Nese. 34 people to pick from. Technically speaking, Infinito. But we know who that is. So I had not picked that yet. That was something that was just an error on my part that I didn't realize until we started recording that I didn't have my names down. So I'm going to try to figure that out while you guys pick. I do have some in mind, but I haven't quite decided.
I'll go first. Well, I think Thunder Rosa has added the most to the company in terms of their women's division. The combination of Punk and Danielson has added a legitimacy that I don't think I ever believed the company would have when they first started. I genuinely felt like it was going to be an upgraded TNA with Jericho and the Bullet Club and, you know, some indie guys. Fast forward to now, they got Punk out of retirement. And they've got Bryan, who just headlined Mania this year. So I'm going to say it's a tie between those two.
Yeah, I think those two are the standouts. But you've got people like Ruby Soho's been great. Jade Cargill is starting to stand out. Obviously, she still needs to work on the in-ring stuff a little bit, but she's definitely still got presence and is growing in stature. Thunder Rose has been awesome. Malachi Black's been good.
Was Jade Cargill brand new this year, or did she come in that? I don't have her on.
She debuted this year.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
yeah, whatever.
If she had the first match was the match with Shaq.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
Shaq.
Yeah, you can constitute it.
Makes
sense.
Hook, of course. Can't
Hook is great. Hook is fantastic.
The hook brings you back.
But I'm gonna go with CM Punk. Danielson's obviously super close as well, but they got Punk out of retirement after 7 years. Like, that's a huge deal. So, best newcomer for me.
I'm going to go Danielson, I think, probably. But yeah, I mean, Cole, Cage, Rosa, Punk, there's options. Worst is tough. I'm leaning towards Brock Anderson.
Yeah, I thought that name was going to come out. That's definitely a choice for me. Brock's a choice. Kiera Hogan is a choice.
She hasn't really done anything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's kind of like, all the same with this guy. What the fuck is Tony Nese doing in AEW?
That's my pick. They have treated him like he's the biggest deal. And he's just sitting in the, like, why are we doing this? Look, no disrespect to 205 Live and the Cruiserweight title, but this guy wasn't that big of a deal. He's one of the few that it felt like, okay, he's appropriately ranked in WWE. When WWE was stacked, he felt appropriately ranked. Why are they treating him like, Tony Nese is here, he's such a hot free agent? It's like, Bray Wyatt's sitting around somewhere. He's the hottest free agent in wrestling? So it's Tony Nese for me.
See, Nese doesn't offend me because I don't think that they've pushed him too far to make it seem like that he was a bigger deal. If he's just a guy, I'm okay with
that. But I'll go the worst is Dan Lambert. I want him in the promotion. Go away.
Lee Johnson is somebody who, like, again, I don't see anything. Like, he's not bad to be like, oh, he's worst, oh, he's terrible. Like, that's not the case, but it's just like, he's just a guy. So why is he signed when so many other people that seem to have a little bit more personality are just on dark? You know, that's just one of those things. But yeah, I'm going to go Brock Anderson.
I'm less offended by Brock and Lee because they are treated like what they are. Brock Anderson's treated as the rookie son of Arn Anderson. Lee Johnson is just a rookie. Tony Nese came in with some fanfare, and I just don't see it.
So best and worst tag team or stable. There are too many for me to run down. There's a page on smarkoutmoment.com. Go ahead and check it out if you want to know the full list, from everything like Dante Martin and Leo Rush to the Wingmen, and you got Pinnacle, you got the Hybrid 2, that kind of thing. I'm going to go the Elite for best.
I'll go Pinnacle. They haven't done nearly enough, but I like the grouping.
Best tag team. I'm going to go with
Men of the Year.
The Elite as a complete unit.
It's hard to not cheat and just say everybody, right?
yeah, I know, because like I could just, if I had to pick a part of that, it's the Young Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
The Young Bucks have had a great year, but you got people like Jurassic Express. They were close. They've been great.
I'm a big fan of like Varsity Blondes and stuff, but yeah, the Elite, they win it.
Yeah.
And just the same, the Hardy Family Office gets the worst.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Hardy Family Office.
I'm still going to go with the Factory. I think they were.
Even though
Hardy Family Office is definitely up there. I also had Bear Country up there. And TH2.
TH2, I wrote down Hardy Family Office and then in parentheses TH2 in particular.
Yeah, I guess they're part of the Hardy Family Office. So you classify as part of that. Chaos Projects as well, because of course Chaos Project. But at least they're just jobbers that are mainly on like dark. Like the Factory was tried to be pushed for a little while or something. So when they really should still be like guys just working their way through dark.
And it's so weird to see, like, you know, Eddie Kingston with Butcher and the Blade and some of these pairings that they do doesn't make any sense. Technically speaking, this year, Ivelisse and Diamante were there, but yeah. And you got Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. You got some good ones, of course. You got Kingston and Moxley were really cool this year. Yeah, positives and negatives. That's the whole point. Best and worst heels. This is tough. The three I can't quite decide fully yet for best are MJF, Miro, and the Elite as like a group. Leaning more towards just MJF.
I'm going to take the out here and say the whole Elite.
I'll go with MJF on his own. just think that he generates genuine heat. So yeah, I'd say that he's best one. I'd put Danielson. Danielson's recent stuff has been great. It's a heel. Miro's great. Billy definitely a high up there, but I'll go with MJF.
Now the worst, the three that I had written down were the Factory. Yeah, I had the Factory down. I had Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero down, and I had the Hardy Family Office down. Look at that.
So it's the three that we've been crapping on all day.
Right? Yeah.
I had I have Joe Janela down there as well.
Yeah, Janela's
TH2 Gun Club. Now as heels, so technically they would count in there, but I'll still stick with the Factory. Just took up too much of my time for no real purpose.
I'm gonna go HFO, even though the Factory really, really, really makes an argument for itself. HFO, I don't get why they're a group.
As much as I'd like to just say, okay, let's just sweep it, and I'll say Nyla and Vicky. HFO takes up way too much time on my TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it takes up way too much.
Now the baby faces, the best is definitely like a grouping of some different people here. You got a Hangman Adam Page, you got Jungle Boy, you got Jon Moxley. There's a lot of really good baby faces. I don't know between Page and Jungle Boy who I want to go with. I might even just say, screw it, I'm making it a tie.
I'll pick my choice between those two, which would be Jungle Boy. He's such a good babyface. I hope he's Ricky Steamboat babyface forever territory because he's so good. And he gets the crowd pumped. His moves are great. His theme song is great. It's just a good time when you see him.
Eddie Kingston.
Another cool option.
Yeah, best babyface to me. I think his story is just too genuine in the crowd, just completely resonated with it. I just can't imagine turning him heel again. I thought like people had him, people were cheering him over Punk in their match at Full Gear. Just illustrates how much people are behind Eddie Kingston right now.
So the worst. I've never been a big fan of Marco Stunt. I don't get the whole Nightmare Family, Brock Anderson, Lee Johnson, Shawn Dean, Cody Rhodes kind of thing. So I'm leaning more towards that if I can collectively just say like all of them, but that's with a little asterisk of, but not Dustin, you know?
Yeah. Everyone loves Dustin.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think like, cause it's like, okay, well, you're supposed to really go nuts for like Captain Shawn Dean. Why? Cause he's a guy.
I had a few people listed. I have Joe Janela listed on this one as well. I had him listed for worst heel and also worst babyface. He technically was both, of course.
Yeah, he was. He only turned this year.
I have Gun Club as well for that as well. So they've been both as well.
Yeah, they're fine for me.
I had Red Velvet down.
Really?
Because you got there was a period, especially when she was feuding with Britt Baker, where she just got booed viscerally. Because
wasn't that in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was in Pittsburgh, but then I was watching like shows afterwards when she was on, especially on a Dark and Elevation, and she was still getting booed. Like people just remembered that. It's like, oh yeah, we don't like this person anymore because she. Brian Cage is a big contender, I think, but I just don't think people get behind him at all. He was much better off as a heel, and then he turns against Team Taz, and everyone gets behind Ricky Starks rather than him because people like Ricky Starks. But the worst babyface is Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because no one likes Cody Rhodes anymore, it seems. And that's not saying that he's definitely not the worst wrestler or anything like that, but he's a guy who is... It's almost like winning worst babyface, I almost think he's giving him an honor rather than like saying it's a negative, because I've personally enjoyed this tease, this constant teasing of the fact that he is turning heel, but he refuses to turn heel, and like... It's like an aware version of the John Cena stuff.
He pulled out a Corbin shovel and said, I'm leaning into it. Like,
yeah, he keeps teasing that he's going to walk down the hill entrance ramp when he's just like, he changes his mind and goes down the babyface one instead. And yeah, so I like it, but the whole storyline is based around the fact that he's not a good babyface. So I think it's right that he wins this award then.
I think this weekend he will be dressed as the Grinch. when he wins the title. I really do.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
I'm gonna take my own personal bias out of it, as where I would say Jericho. Live crowds love Jericho, so he's clearly not a worse babyface. But that's when I'll agree with Cal and say Cody.
Yeah.
Because of everything Cal just mentioned.
You gotta hope that this is an act. Because if he really does like full like Bret Hart like buy into it, then it's problems. So
it's an act.
We got the best and the worst. We can kind of group these together in a sense. Female, male, and overall wrestler of the year. Because we're going to kind of, when we get to the wrestler of the year, it's whatever the male or female that we picked. So I think it's kind of better to go with all three at a shot kind of deal. I was debating about for the women, the three women that I had for best. No, let's go worst. Let's go worst first. Save the best for last. I only had one pick for worst woman of the year. Evilise.
It's a fair shout.
That's a fair shout.
It's a sad case of women just can't get out of her own way.
And just the no selling and everything. Yeah. Like for you to lose your job here it's a thing. What do you guys have for worst?
Evilise is definitely on my short list. I have both the Bunny and Penelope Ford on my list because they're just there spinning their wheels constantly, and it doesn't seem like they want to do stuff with them because they have like a good look, and especially in the Bunny's case, she's been around in wrestling for a while, but it's just a case they'll never really pull the trigger on either of them because frankly they're not good enough to pull the trigger on.
Hey, what group are they in?
Worst. Oh, the HFO. All right, yeah.
There you
go. I'm probably going to go with, because Evilise definitely does stand out, and she's probably the right choice, but just for the sake of being different, I'm going to go Leva Bates.
Yeah, what did she even do this year? Yeah.
She wrestled 2 matches and is now, I think, in a much better position working behind the scenes. She never really belonged in the ring, I don't think.
I still think she would be much better off as red, white, and blue pants.
God damn it.
That's Cody Rhodes, isn't it?
It is. I'm gonna say, as an overall this year, and for context, I don't watch a lot of Dark, so I can't say any of those names.
Right.
Nyla had a crummy year, and I'm gonna say that the Vicky partnership doesn't help. So I'll say like Nyla with the asterisk of, but really Vicky.
Yeah, it's also like I hope that everybody kind of realizes this. We're at the very end of this, so if you've been leaving comments in the meantime, sorry. But yeah, it's hard for us to judge the people that are on Dark just because it's like, first off, you don't want to just crap on somebody who comes in to be a jobber because
like
that's their
new,
job,
yeah.
you know? And a lot of them are brand new and whatever, but like, I'm not going to be like, oh, Baron Black is the worst of the male wrestlers. Like, I don't fucking know anything about the guy, you know, whatever. Like, unless something stands out, then I don't see the point. All the more reason why my list for the worst of the male wrestlers were people that I had seen enough of that I was just like, I'm not feeling them. So Marco Stunt, you know, Luther, Aaron Solo, Brock Anderson. I think I want to go Jack Evans.
It's fair.
Yeah, he's a choice.
It's either he or Brock, I think.
I'm going to go with the Butcher. No, Pepper Parks. Pepper Parks.
You're going with the Blade?
I'm going with the Blade, and I'm going to tell you why. Because there was a point where I thought he was going to win a match, and I said, my God, if he wins this match, I have to do an article that reads, the Blade actually wins a singles match on Dynamite. And I think if you're at that point, as a character, like I'm not saying this, in this case, I'm going with the character of the Blade. Like, if you're at that point as a character, not great.
Yeah, there's quite a few options. Brian Cage is an option for me. I almost went with Dan Lambert, but technically he's not really been wrestling that much, so I'm
Judy Dos Santos is there. Judy Dos Santos.
Yeah, nah, I'm fine with him. I thought it was just funny, some of the shit that he was doing in that match. So, you got QT Marshall and Cesar Bononi, potentially. For me, it comes down for one of three choices: Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss, and Aaron Solo.
I think you're gonna, based on everything you said, I think you feel like Sonny.
I do feel like Sonny, but then I feel like at least Sonny and Joey were confined to dark mainly throughout the entire time. Whereas Aaron Solo actually made it onto TV fairly often. And he's just like, why is he there? Like, it's just, he's a guy, like, for like all respect in the world, but like Sean Dean has more character than Aaron Solo has.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, and Baron Black and people like that, like guys that actually are like just there as enhancement talent mainly on Dark. Like, he's at their level, and yet he's so proud as this guy is part of the factory. So I'm actually going to go with Aaron Solo because I just don't think that he merited any of the TV time that he got this year.
Yeah, I think he's a really, really solid pick for that. Again, on my short list. So then that would mean, what's your worst overall wrestler of the year between those two picks, or if you just want to go with the blind out of the nowhere, that extra thing?
Oh, we could always do that, but I'll go with Aaron Solo then.
I'll probably say, as an overall, because of the factory stuff, I'll say QT.
I think I'm gonna go Ivelisse.
Yeah,
the fact that on top of having a bad match where it was like, all right, she just gave up, and then it's all this controversy afterward about being like, that's it's never my fault kind of stuff. I don't know, but I do want to, Brock Anderson and Jack Evans are very, very close. If you don't count Ivelisse as far as like not being on the full roster, whatever, pick one of Brock Anderson or Jack Evans. Lean a little bit more towards Jack Evans for me, because he has no reason not to be. He's been around long enough. He shouldn't be as bad as what he was this year. So yeah, Jack Evans, Ivelisse, whichever one you want to go with. But let's go with the best female wrestler of the year. A couple ones I think that we kind of are all in agreement of a lot of names. Serena Deeb should be on the list. Mm-hmm. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida. Yeah.
Bliss Statlander should be on that list as well, I believe. But yeah, those are the five that I have listed. There are some people that have had some good matches alongside them as well, but I think they're the standout five to me for this year.
I'm going to go Baker.
Yeah, I think it's Britt Baker. So yeah, top woman of the entire year, Thunder Rosa, and Serena D pushed her closer maybe than I expected, considering how much of the year was geared towards Britt Baker. But yeah, she's top woman.
Now that you mentioned it, Rosa's up there for like top baby faces of the year, but I think it's Baker's year. This year was all about her, and I don't think you're ever going to see her nearly that popular again, because this year was just totally devoted to her.
One of the pillars.
Mm-hmm.
And the best male wrestler of the year, I kind of just got to go Kenny Omega.
There's an argument to be made that we can say Danielson across both promotions, but
true.
I'll say Omega because this was his year, and when you hear about all the health issues he had while wrestling in 3 different promotions, it's amazing. Kenny Omega.
There's so many good choices, like MJF, Miro,
Paige.
Yeah, Paige, Darby Allen. I'd still say CM Punk, count Kingston, Moxley, Ray Phoenix. I'd say Malachi as well, even to an extent, because I just feel like his character work towards the end of the year has been very good. But I will conform and say that it should be Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was the top guy throughout the entire year, and yeah, he merits being in that position because he had excellent matches. He carried that title throughout the majority of it, and it's him and Paige told the story that basically glued together pretty much the entire year. So Omega definitely merits it.
And I would say, in that spirit, best overall, Kenny Omega.
Yep.
It was his year.
I'm actually going to go best overall Adam Page.
Huh.
Which is
Fair
weird
enough.
because I think that even though Omega, I think, was the best worker and, well, I say worker, I mean, in terms of like just consistency, and that Adam Page doesn't develop into the guy that everyone wants to get behind without Kenny Omega. Adam Page was the guy that everyone did get behind, and I feel like it's his journey that we enjoyed and his journey that we followed as AEW fans throughout the entire year. Kenny was the great foundation for that, but at the end of it, we wanted to see Page get what we wanted him to reach the top of the mountain, and he did. And so the whole year has really been built around getting Adam Page to that level. So even though I feel like I would give Kenny obviously the award for the best man because of the work that he did. Not Miro, obviously, but Miro is the best man. But we'll give Kenny Omega for 2021 as the top guy. I think the year was built around Adam Page.
That makes sense.
I also would give a shout out to the Young Bucks as well, because I think they sometimes go under the radar just how great of a year they have every single year, pretty much. And they were tag champions this year, and they had so many great matches with Jurassic Express and FTR and Lucha Bros, and the stuff they did, that Full Gear 6-man match as well. Obviously, that was with Jurassic Express, but they've had absolute bangers all year round. So they're the best tag team of the year in my mind. So,
all right, well, that's the AEW 2021 recap. Again, lots of contradictory opinions and lots of screw that I'm at Factory. HFO.
Yeah, screw them. Yeah. Robbed me of 3 months of TV.
Yeah. So it is kind of interesting when we agree on something, because then I'm always curious, is that kind of all the collective thing? Is everybody kind of all going to be in agreement? Like Vicky Guerrero, thumbs down. Cody Rhodes, thumbs down. Thumbs up on like the elite stuff page and, some of the obvious things, but also thumbs up on some of the other things we mentioned too. Obviously leave a comment below. Tell us your thoughts one way or another, whether you agree or disagree. What did you pick? What are your choices? What are your best and worst, least and most favorite moments of the year? And anything else that you want to talk about? And kind of keep the discussion going, because there's going to be a little bit of time before we do the WWE ones. Not, a whole lot of time. It's going to be over the course of the next week or so. But you guys are going to hear that coming up. And we'll be doing these awards and more, because there are more for WWE. So, this was 2.5 hour podcast. Expect this to be the WWE one more along the 3.5, I guess. That's going to be a multiple day recording for us. If you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see tweaked for this, let me know that as well. Maybe you think that we should kind of adjust some categories to fit AEW a little bit better, or maybe you do think that we should incorporate some more of the WWE ones. We can't, obviously, for some, like we can't put like WWE Network show for AEW because that doesn't exist. But I'm always taking considerations for that kind of stuff, because next year, who knows what we do. But at the very least, very glad to have a lot of great stuff to talk about from AEW this year. This is a damn good year for AEW. Arguably the best year for AEW's history. And I'm hoping that 2022 is even better. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you follow us all over the place at Smark Out Moment. Make sure that you check out everything else that's happening, like the hot tags and stuff, but also just, whatever thing is coming up next. Because we do have lots of stuff at the end of the year here. Lots of articles all over the place that I'm writing up here and elsewhere. We got fanboysanonymous.com too, so check out everything over at Fanboys. Check me out at Tony Mango, and check out what you guys have going on as well. Rob is over there at Dude Felice.
I am. I'm at Dude Felice everywhere. You can check out my stuff on Fightful, and you can check out Fightful Select. But most importantly, the personal follows. At Dude Felice on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, all that good stuff. And now I toss you over to Callum.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out the Smark Out Moment website, all the stuff that's going on there on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis, including the power rankings, my week-to-week contribution. And yeah, if you want to dive into the archives over the Christmas break and get your fill of more Smark Out Moment content, then there's always 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey and the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast. over in the archives. And yeah, great year for AEW. And yeah, it has been a lot of fun to talk about. More fun than what we're going to be coming up to next, but we'll try and make that fun as well. But yeah, less fun things to talk about.
Also, while you're at it, make sure that you fill out the end of the year feedback survey. You can find that on the sidebar on the right-hand side of smarkoutmoment.com and on the homepage on the little blocks that have like the featured gimmicks and everything. Because not only do I want to know what you guys think were the best and the worst segments of Smark Out Moment this year, but you can vote on, for the first time ever, the best of the co-hosts and or writers of the year. Figured I'd put the writers on there too. We don't have a worst because why are we going to crap on ourselves like that? But you can vote on that, and you can also fill me in on things that you want differently on the website, ideas that you think we should bring back, or new ideas, or even just letting me know where you listen to the podcast. Are you on Spotify? Are you on Amazon Music? Or are you preferring it on YouTube? Or do you only check out Smack Talk and you don't check the articles? All that stuff goes a long way in helping me form plans for the next year. So please, please, please vote while you can and fill out that survey and let me know. You got a couple days for that at the very least. And that'll be addressed at the end of the year awards after all the WWE stuff is out of the way when we do our recap. That's the main event for next week. We still have another episode of the Hot Tags in some fashion. I don't know if I'm going to do it on my own or if I'm going to end up doing this, some other day, or I don't know. We'll see. But we will see you when we see you, everybody. And we want to thank you for listening to this. And we want to thank you for your comments and everything else, your support on the Patreon and whatnot. Whatever it is. Thanks. It's awesome. You're awesome. And we love you. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.